Welcome to the Scoop World Order. Happy Saturday. The Bucks basketball team got a win. All of the Rats have jumped ship from Michigan. This is incredible. Another Michigan, a really good coach, has fled to LA. It's escaped to Los Angeles at its finest. Jim Harbaugh pillaging his own university. It's you hate to see it, but for us, we love to see it. It's amazing. Got some new candidates for that 10th coach. There's a little bit of competition for James Laurinaitis. We're going to break that down. The Chip Kelly effect is very real inside the Woody Hayes. So he is not wasting any time suggesting some guys to Ryan Day. So we're going to get into all that. And also, whatever your questions are today. Again, we had a monster episode yesterday. So again, this is a great show because you guys make it one, nobody else. You guys make it a great show. So we appreciate you guys. Shout out to our boy Tora running the show in the chat. Give him some love. He's the absolute best. We talked for about an hour last night about how to keep making this thing better and better and better for you guys. And appreciate you guys kicking it with us on Saturday night. Little Super Bowl Saturday night spectacular tonight. So it's going to be a good time. If you guys enjoy this content, please leave us a like, click subscribe. Also click that little alert bell. Those are all huge for this channel and this page, and you guys have been growing it organically. If you have any friends that would be interested, shoot them a text, find the link, text it to them, Facebook message it to them, however, email it to them. It's been spreading like crazy because a lot of people talk about it. They say, hey, do you watch The Scoop? And a lot of you guys are starting to watch it, so we appreciate that. Get the super chats fired up. They go to Pay It Forward. We signed up a bunch of new Pay It Forward members, so welcome to BuckeyeScoop.com. Those of you that I'm talking to, I appreciate you guys. Actually had one of our best posters sisters sign up, which is kind of hilarious. So thank you for signing up. You know who you are. And it's great communicating with you and getting you set up. Again, when someone is a Pay It Forward member, I try to just make sure if they've never been on a message board, make it comfortable, make sure they know how to get around on it. It's been an awesome process, seeing our numbers swell to where they are. It's the best community for Ohio State supporters, and we'd love for you to join it if you're not a member of BuckeyeScoop.com. But with that being said, got to get ready to do it with Nevada. Nevada, we had a monster one yesterday. We had a great crowd yesterday. With Steve Clinksdale fleeing Michigan, I have never seen a coach from his own alma mater, a guy who's a self-proclaimed Michigan man, pillage a coaching staff like this. Because this is something that Urban Meyer did not do, and I think it was very much detrimental to his experience in Jacksonville. Obviously, the off-the-field stuff beside it, he did not take Mickey Marotti. He did not take Mark Piantoni. He did not take Brian Voltolini. He basically left his Ohio State staff intact. He kind of had to cobble it with, he took Stamper. Stamper obviously is a guy who was from Florida, so that made sense. And no one's going to remember Ryan Stamper at Ohio State. But he took Schlegel, who was out of coaching, made him the assistant strength coach, ended up being the head strength coach. But if Urban probably could go back and do a do-over, taking an NFL job, he'd probably just say F it and take Mickey Marotti with him and take Mark Piantoni with him and take the guys that he knows he can trust to do the job. And instead he went down there and he had a bunch of guys that stabbed him in the back. Obviously he did a lot of stuff on his own, but Jim Harbaugh is the opposite. Jim Harbaugh is taking everybody, strength coach, D coordinator. His son opted to go to Seattle with their former defensive coordinator who was with the Ravens. But man, there's like 5 coaches that are leaving Michigan to go with Jim Harbaugh. What are your thoughts on that? Is it so much that they know the nuclear strike is coming, or is it they've been around Sean Moore as the head coach for a couple weeks and they're like, I don't know if I want to be around that. What's your take on it?
Well, I've talked to people that know Harbaugh really well, that interact with him on a weekly basis, semi-daily basis. And what they say is it's a combination of things. One, Harbaugh really feels like he's doing these guys a favor, getting them out of Michigan. It's like rescuing them from a ship that's kind of going down, and he knows that. So there's part of it that's Harbaugh feels like he's doing these guys a favor. Secondly, Harbaugh, he doesn't feel empathy so he doesn't have any feelings of it. I know he loves Michigan and he's a Michigan guy, but he's unable to be empathetic about other people, other things. So this whole idea that he's pillaging Michigan or he's doing that, it just doesn't even resonate with him. He doesn't even understand those emotions. So, there's some of that kind of going on. And, the third thing is just there are certain ethics that you do and you don't do in business. Like if you leave a company, you don't poach the employees, you don't do those sorts of things. But again, for Harbaugh, it's not it's just not on his, it's not on his radar that that's a bad thing to do. So the Michigan coaches now, they all want out. They all want out. I mean, Sharon Moore obviously got a big fat raise, and he's kind of doing his thing. But Klingsky, like, it had been out for days in the agent community that he was leaving, and we were talking about that. We're like, man, this guy's leaving. And then I hear all the Michigan insiders say, "Oh no, he's back. He gave the speech from the Wolf of Wall Street, where they'll have to pull me out of here with a National Guard team, and I'm back, baby." And then he leaves. So I think, as a Michigan fan, this just is the next chapter in this descent from what they thought was going to be their pinnacle, their greatness. No one's had a shorter honeymoon in the history of any sport than the Michigan Wolverines. And the funny thing is, it hasn't even hit yet. Like, the hurricane has not even hit yet. So they're having that's the worst part of this thing hasn't even hit. So they're just at the tip of the storm, and they've already lost all their coaches. Every player that was possibly eligible for the NFL draft is gone. They've got guys that are going to leave in the portal. I'm telling you right now, they've got guys that are going to leave in the portal, either in the first window open from Harbaugh leaving, or the second window, but they're going to leave. And for Michigan, it's going to get bad. And all the while, they got to sit there and watch Ohio State accumulate talent like they're the New York Yankees, both on the field and in coaching talent. And man, if you just want some real fun, either read the Michigan message boards, which are comedy gold, or two, talk to any of your friends that are Michigan fans, and you just see how despondent they are. And it's just a beautiful thing. I mean, I hated them winning, but man, this is glorious. It's fun watching them squirm now and knowing that it's all over and it's never going to be good again. Probably not in any of their lifetimes, and never in their lifetime again is Michigan football going to be good. And that makes me happy.
Yeah, and then they see the devastating additions that we're adding to our team, and it's going to be real scary up there. We're starting to get some super chats. I wanted to touch on the fact that this is going on because I mean, I've seen this kind of with Marcus Freeman at Notre Dame, kind of with Sharon Moore at Michigan. When you put in a guy who's a young coach and he's never had a head coaching job, and you hand him like getting the head job at Michigan or Notre Dame as a first-time coach, and you're like 36, 37 years old. Again, it's like handing your 60-year-old the keys to like an F1 car instead of a Honda Accord or something, or something safe, something easy. You give like okay, you're 60 now, you can go drive something that you could go 250 miles, whatever, like 250 miles an hour. Here you go. Here's the keys, kid. And then you watch it go into the side of the wall, and you're like, ooh, that might not have been the best move. But you get these young coaches in there, man. You got to remember, these coaches, the arc of their career generally is directly tied to the head coach. So that's why people wanted to work for Urban Meyer. It wasn't because it was, we got to, have a chocolate fondue fountain and drink hot cocoa during meetings. It was because this guy is going to annihilate you. But when it comes time to get a job, nobody will go to the wall harder than Urban Meyer will. Urban Meyer will call someone 30 times to try to get you a job at a dinky school, just to try to keep you in the game. Work hard. I mean, he wanted me to come back after I left, and I was like, nope, I'm good. I got a job. Appreciate you. But it's just like, if you attach yourself to Sharon Moore, and again, we'll see. And again, I'll be completely honest, because I like to be honest on the show. I was wrong about Sharon Moore as an O-line coach. I didn't think he was going to be that great. They won 2 straight Joe Moore Awards for top O-line in the country. But, I still think that had more to do with Jim Harbaugh than it did Sharon Moore. Because Jim Harbaugh, wherever he goes, his lines look real good. And I'll bet you, the Chargers next year are going to look really good on the O-line. But I think, to hand over Michigan, because not only are they a completely depleted roster, but the sanctions, the negative energy, the noise, that's a lot. That's not a smooth, easy, pond. That's like the North Sea in the middle of the winter, gigantic waves. Like that's as hard of something you could ever navigate is what's about to happen to these guys with the sanctions. And then that portal's open right now. Then it opens after spring. It's going to be treacherous, and you're going to need real leadership. And again, can Sharon Moore do it? Sure. But did he have a loaded team last year with 44 seniors as much as 6 year guys? Yeah. So when he beat Penn State, beat us, like that was, he had maximum help given how veteran the team was. This year, the team is very young compared to last year. And so when you have a young coach with a young team, that is a recipe for absolute disaster. And I love it. And it is absolutely delicious. And I cannot wait to see this season, especially when they come to Columbus. Nevada, your thoughts on, are these guys jumping ship because they know the sanctions? Are they unsure of Sharon Moore? Do they just want to coach in the NFL? Is it a combination of it all? What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's all of the above. I mean, I think it's all of the above. I think for them, they're looking at what's kind of coming down. They know what they have in the room. They know what's going on at Ohio. I mean, look, everybody in college football is aware of what's going on at Ohio State right now. Certainly Michigan is. And you've got the looming NCAA hammer kind of hanging over their head with a first-time head coach who's never done it before. And these guys they're not dumb. I mean, they may be dishonest, they may be cheaters, but they're not stupid. And they know what's coming. So if Harbaugh's throwing them out there, it's like at the end of Titanic when you're laying there on the thing and Jack's like drifting down to the water and you're on top of the little board and stuff like that. Like, and some guy comes by on the little rowboat, man, you're jumping on the rowboat and that's it. You're getting out of that water. You're getting out of there as quickly as you can. And you're not looking back. You don't care about anything else like that. You don't care about Michigan man. You don't care about those who stay will be champ. You don't care about any of that stuff. You just care, how do I get out of here? And how do I get out of here without the stink of this NCAA thing hanging around me? And they feel like by just getting as far away from it as possible, that's the best thing, because then everything that happens will happen to the guy behind them, to the kids behind them, to the school behind them, to the fans behind them, and it won't reflect on them. And that's how they cope. That's what they're doing. And we're seeing it play out in real time.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think it's going to be very interesting to see how it shakes out. Again, I think if I'm a Michigan fan, I hope you guys enjoyed that championship because it could get deleted. And man, this year is going to be really, really rough on you. Nevada, you had an outstanding nugget kind of breaking down, not really handicapping, but talking about some potential candidates for the final spot, the 10th spot. Most of us presume it'll be James Laurinaitis. Again, James has been on the road. He's been acting as the 10th coach. 37 years old, three-time All-American, easily one of the greatest Buckeyes in history. One of the all-time leading tackler for the St. Louis/Los Angeles Rams. So the NFL cred is there. The recruiting chops are there. I can't imagine there's anybody that would be a candidate that would know linebacker play better than James does. But I think that there's some decision making on Ryan Day's part to be, do you want to have a linebackers coach? Do you have a special teams coach? I think having a special teams coach in modern football is absolutely idiotic. It's the dumbest move you could ever do because kickoffs no longer exist. So you immediately delete kickoff and kickoff return. Then you just have punts, which don't really exist because we fair catch everything, and punt return. So then you're down to field goal block. And field goal protection is handled by the offensive line coach. Field goal block is handled by Larry Johnson, the D-line coach. So you really to waste a spot on a special teams coordinator, especially a guy like Parker Fleming, who is literally an absolute zero trash recruiter, makes no sense to me. But there's a couple of guys that Chip Kelly has mentioned to Ryan, and they're getting a little interview the few days in the Woody Hayes. So there's James. There's a kid named Cody Whitfield. I'm going to put him on the screen real quick. This is a kid, played at Stanford, was a GA for Chip Kelly, has worked as a corners coach for Chip Kelly. He has special teams experience. Potentially, this would be a kid that would be a special teams coordinator. I think he's interesting. The second guy is a guy named Akia Malo, who actually last year coached. It was a weird combination: outside linebackers, D line, and he was a special teams coach. So he literally had that as his credit on the UCLA site. But Cody Whitfield is a guy really smart, rising star in the profession, younger guy. But again, I don't know how this guy could be better than James Laurinaitis, especially when you want a linebackers coach. And James, for what it's worth, as a young player at Ohio State, was a phenomenal special teams player. So it's not like he's ever covered a punt. or been on kickoff return. He did all that when he was a young player. Now, when you get older, they take you off that. They put young guys on it so they can save you a little bit. But he was a great special teamer. But Nevada, your thoughts on James Laurinaitis, Akia Molo, and then Cody Whitfield?
Look, I think they're all three great candidates. You know where my heart goes. My heart's always going to be with James Laurinaitis. He's a Buckeye, not just any Buckeye, a great Buckeye in the pantheon of great Buckeyes, great NFL player, great person. So you're not going to go wrong with that. I've heard great things about Mallow. I've heard great things about Whitfield. That I've heard them described as being rising stars in the business, guys that are really really intelligent, that can get after it, and look, I don't want to have the uncomfortable conversation, but we want to have big boy adult conversations with the board. Having young coaches is probably that's good, but having a little diversity on the staff for a football team that's very diverse is probably not the worst thing in the world. And I know people don't like to hear that, but in any business, when you like to have people selling to people that they're comfortable with. And so, I our staff right now is pretty homogenous, and if we were able to diversify that a little bit, in my opinion, that's not the worst thing in the world. And so, like I said, at the risk of being indelicate or at the risk of upsetting anybody in terms of it, I think those are just the realities of coaching in 2024. That sometimes stuff like that matters, and for Ohio State, I think that they need to be sensitive to things like that, because they only have a 10-person staff, and you can only have 10 accountable coaches, and right now, a lot of those guys look like a lot of those guys, and I don't know how else to put it, but that's just my thoughts.
No, and that's real. That's not being in whatever. I mean, that's just a real thing with diversity on a coaching staff. You have to cover certain parts of the country: Atlanta, Miami, Cleveland. Where it is more of a minority-based population. So it helps with the coverage. When you lose Perry Eliano and you replace him with Matt Gariani, you get a little whiter, and you need to get some diversity on the staff because again, you have to have guys that can go. But the thing about James is I think James could cover those areas and be fine because he's a guy that everybody gets along with. Everybody knows. And again, the thing about James is he was so good and he played so long that every high school coach that he talks to knows him. And every player, a lot of these players that, they play Madden or whatever, they know who James Laurinaitis is. They've heard of him. And then if they don't know who he is, they can Google him. And he, 8, 9, 10 years, whatever it was in the league, All-American 3 times, one of the greatest players, college football Hall of Famer type resume. I mean, that's why he's kind of a unicorn. And again, I mean that, specifically for James, because there's some guys that are too stiff. Urban had the greatest quote ever when he called some of the guys in our room like the stiff white guys. And he sent those guys into Glenville, man. It's going to be a long day for, you're going to hear something from Ted Ginn Sr. And I love Ted Ginn Sr. But, there's some guys that can do that and some guys can't. So, and again, that's just real talk. Again, so there's a lot of consideration going to this. There's, guys that have more expertise in different parts of the country, because that's something that like people don't really talk about. If you're Chip Kelly, it doesn't matter. But if you're getting a position coach and a guy's got really good ties in certain areas of the country, maybe the West Coast, maybe Texas, maybe Georgia, that adds to your overall cachet. If you say, hey, I've had a lot of success beating certain schools in this part of the country. You guys haven't had a lot of success there. I've got great relationships with high school coaches. We can build pipelines. Again, that's all part of building a program and making it stronger. So again, we're just giving you a little update. I still hope and pray to God that Ryan Day hires James Laurinaitis because I think he earned it. I mean, he's 37 years old. He worked hard last year. He's been on the road all winter. He did a phenomenal job. And I think that if we don't hire him, I think for getting linebackers, he'd be an ace. He'd be a heartline. Really, for any defensive player, I'd send James after him, and I don't think he'd ever look like a fool just because of how he can relate to kids. And again, I put him and AJ Hawk in a different category of teammates in terms of nobody just liked those two. And those guys were excellent players, great leaders, captains. They check every box. So if you could get one of those guys on your staff at Ohio State, I think it's dynamic. And again, it's not some cosmic accident that Brian Hartline and Tim Moulton, two guys that are Buckeyes and were Buckeyes, are magically our two best recruiters right now. Like, they actually know the school like the back of their hand, and they can testify as to what the school has done for them. So it's not like there's some, like again, it's nothing against any of the other coaches, but if Justin Fry was coaching as the head coach at Indiana, it'd be a lot easier for him to sell it than Ohio State, just because he lived it. Like, he's an Indiana alum, and again, I'm not saying Justin Fry can't sell Ohio State, because that's part of coaching, is you have to, whatever poloed shirt you're wearing that day, with whatever logo's on it, you got to sell it as best you can and figure out what are the strong points and figure out how to kind of delete the weaknesses. But, when you have Tim Moulton and Brian Hartline that both played here and they played well, and now they're back coaching and they're dominating in recruiting, I don't think it hurts. So to add a third guy like that, who's wicked smart and is probably the hardest worker in the entire what he is, I'm all about it. Any rebuttal there, Nevada?
No, I just think Burt Carton should be recruiting for it. We kid about it, but like, you would kill it, dude. You would absolutely, you would burn the game down if you were recruiting for Ohio State. You know that, and I know that. It ain't never gonna happen, but it's you would kill the game. There's no doubt about it.
You're saying you've seen me in action. You've seen my old lady.
I've seen you in action. Yeah, nobody sells better than you.
Oh God, I tell people, I was like, I don't have abs or anything, but my old lady's she's pretty good looking. Before we get to the super chats, got to give you guys a quick update. My little dude got his leg fixed. He broke his femur yesterday. He was wrestling around with his 6-year-old brother. He's 2, and usually the 2-year-old whoops on the 6-year-old because the 6-year-old's way bigger. So, but he took a little false step. His leg snapped. So he had surgery this morning at Nationwide Children's. I'm only mentioning this because I had so many wonderful, beautiful messages across Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, email. So thank all of you for your concern. There's a huge thread on Buckeye Scoop. I kind of keep it light, because he'll be he's in a full leg cast, and it's kind of funny. And 5 weeks he'll be back, but it's hard for a 2-year-old because he doesn't know what's wrong. Why he can't walk? Why his legs? He's gonna be like this forever. But 5 weeks he'll be back rolling. But when my wife called me and said, "Hey, I think your kid just broke his leg because Kirky said he heard it snap," I was like, "How did he break his leg?" Like, in the wrestling, whatever. And I was like, I played football for 10 years and I never broke a single bone. And she's like, "Well, that doesn't matter because he broke his leg." And my wife, who wanted to kill me after I said, "Well, I guess they don't make them like they used to." And my wife's like, "You're such an a-hole." But I was like, I couldn't help myself. But yeah, I was like, I played in the NFL and played at Ohio State, and I never broke a bone. But my kid's 2 years old and wrestles. So I said, "You better start giving him some milk and some dairy so his bones get a little bit stronger." But he'll be good. He's pounding popsicles, and he watched the Super Mario Brothers movie for about, like 7 times in the last 20 hours. So my wife says she never wants to see that movie again. And so as soon as I got home, the first thing I did was put it on TV. All right. So there's my update on my kid. Again, appreciate you guys. He's going to be in good shape, little Caney. So shout out to my old lady, because she was at the hospital all night and neither of them slept. And I was at home with my 6-year-old and I slept like a baby. So it was great. To get into these super chats, Nevada, do you have anything to that? Because I know you're probably dying to comment on that.
Well, no, it's just a shame that your kids don't look anything like you.
I know. Seriously.
I mean,
little monsters.
Little Burt Cartons running around.
Oh, God. I know. They're like wrestling. They're like doing the people's elbow and the big leg drop and the big boot. It's the way. I mean, they wrestle every day. And I'm like, why are they always wrestling? But like, Caney, like the little 2-year-old beats up the 6-year-old, which is what's funny. We're going to go through some super chats. Paul, thank you for the 50. Starting it off strong. Appreciate you, brother. Hi, guys. What is JJ's middle name? Who is JJ? JJ Smith?
Jeremiah. Yeah, JJ Smith.
God, I don't know. Man, I hate being stumped. I'll text.
Go to the Google machine or text.
I mean, man, I'm telling you, I'm gonna text my guy. Do you know JJ Smith's? I mean, it's probably like Optimus Prime. That's what I'd name him, 'cause that's what he looks like. instead of Megatron, because like Megatron is good, but Optimus Prime always beats him in the movies anyways. Middle.
Unless it's JJ,
name.
could be JJ McCarthy. Could be talking about JJ McCarthy.
I don't know. Is he, Paul, in the chat? If you,
we need some clarification.
Yeah, we need clarification on JJ, because unless there's another JJ Watt. But I appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much, and thanks for always being on here. Nick Pristoluski. That is a great name. Thanks to you for the ultra. Appreciate you, my man. I hope I did not butcher that. If I did, if you see me in person, you can smack me on the head, because I tried to get that as clean as I could. What a wonderful day for us Buckeyes, and for my happy, want to wish my son, Marius. Oh, that's a great name. That's like Marius Pujanowski, the baddest man on earth. He was the world's strongest man for a long time. That is an awesome name. A very happy 18th birthday. And my daughter had her gender reveal party. She has made me a proud grandpa of a baby girl. Yes, and she will be a Buckeye. OH, Nevada.
I-O.
I always point the wrong way. I'm such an idiot. But congrats, Nick. I mean, that's awesome. You're going to be a grandpa, and your son is 18. That is amazing. So I hope you guys had a great day. That sounds like a banging weekend. And then you got Super Bowl tomorrow. This is going to be a great weekend for you. So congrats, man. I mean, again, like, kids are the greatest thing in the universe. I'm so thrilled about my kids. They eat a ton, but they are just like, I couldn't imagine going through life without them, because they are constant. They're like little entertainment robots, because they are so hilarious all the time, which is great. God, I love these names you guys come up with for your YouTube names. Sweet potato calves. The imagery. Thank you for the 10. First time posting on Super Chat. You guys are the best, and keep fighting the good fight. Explain the change in going from OC to head coach. Many people bashing the Kelly hire for his head coaching record. OH.
I-O.
I literally point the wrong way every time. It's amazing. You know what? I'll let you take that to start, Nevada. People are bashing Chip Kelly about his record, but like, I don't care. I mean, why would I care what his head coaching record is? He's going to be calling plays on offense. But do you want to take that, Nevada, to start?
Well, I mean, let's just be clear. You know, I went through this exercise with one of my sons today. We were talking about, the Chip Kelly hire, and he's excited about it, as everybody, here is. But I said, look, let's do the fantasy draft thing where we're picking our all-time coaching team, and okay, you get the first pick for your offensive coordinator just for college football. Who are you picking? And he's like, I'm picking Chip Kelly, Dad. And I'm like, yeah, duh. That's the answer. There's only one answer. It's Chip Kelly. So, I truly believe that he is the best offensive mind that might have ever coached in terms of college football. I think he's that innovative. I think he's made some groundbreaking innovations. He's had success at multiple different locations with limited talent, and he's almost won a national championship there at Oregon. Darn near won one with Dennis Dixon. Almost beat Auburn. Gave us a game in the national championship game. I mean, that game was a lot closer. I mean, it looked pretty lopsided at the end. Urban ran it up there a little bit to score that last touchdown, trying to make it look a little less competitive. But that was a competitive game. He had some, not that he was the coach that year, but he basically formed that program. And I have so much respect for him. And I think that anybody that's really going on it is either just kind of misinformed or is just kind of a hater, kind of jealous and kind of a hater. But I don't get it. He was, beyond success. Look at his numbers offensively at Oregon, and then look at his numbers at UCLA. Better than Ohio State was the last 2 years. Better than Ohio State was with C.J. Stroud his final year at Ohio State. Number 1 in the country in rushing. Number 4 in the country in offense. I mean, I don't know what there is to complain about Chip Kelly. I think he's going to be absolutely fantastic. Grand Slam home run doesn't even kind of do it justice to me. It'd be like hitting like 3 home runs in the same inning or something like that. I think this is a once in a lifetime, not even a generation. This is a once in a lifetime type of hire for Ohio State, and I'm going to enjoy every minute of it.
Yeah, I mean, when you can hire the perfect candidate, I mean, even like just from a schematic standpoint, he's the best. But then, like I said, you throw in he's worked with Justin Fry, and obviously he's Ryan Day's mentor. It's like, I don't know what else you want. And people that have hated on the guy, again, so maybe whatever, but Bill Belichick loves the guy. Bill Belichick probably the greatest coach who's ever lived, loves him. Urban loves him. All these coaches that are like, the Mount Rushmore of college and NFL coaching, they think he's really good and they love learning his concept. So that to me counts more than what some random, poster on Twitter writes or whatever, because I think that they, those guys they're always trying to look for an edge, looking for the new way to do things, a more efficient way to do things. And like Chip is like just the ultimate mad scientist. Like he's always looking at how to get better players in space, get like more free access. And again, he's had to like, at UCLA, they led the nation in rushing 2 years ago. And, they had DTR who was good, but he was, like a mid-round pick. And, Charbonnet was a second-round pick. But, like, they didn't have, like, 5, like, Georgia Bulldog offensive linemen, or, like, they didn't have a bunch of 5-star offensive linemen up front. So his scheme's got to count for something if he's shredding people with a less than, incredible offensive line. So I couldn't be more excited. Again, I think that it makes, anything that makes Ryan, if I asked you, Nevada, what coach on this earth who's alive would Ryan Day feel the most comfortable handing his play sheet to and never having to worry again? Who would you answer?
Yeah, I mean, it'd be Chip Kelly. And I just want to make one other point. Remember when Saban was complaining about speed football and how it was unfair and it was unsafe and he wanted to do it? That was all because Kelly was going so fast on I mean, if he could rattle the GOAT, Nick Saban, with speed football, I mean, what bigger compliment can you get than that Nick Saban thinks what you're doing is unfair? That was the greatest endorsement to me of the Blur package and what they were doing and how they tried to attack it. But yeah, no, you talk about alignment. I know I said it yesterday on the show, but I think it's such an underrated point. You have perfect alignment now on both sides of the ball. On both sides of the ball, you have perfect alignment with Matt and Jim, and with Justin and Chip and Ryan. I mean, it's going to be glorious to watch, and the differences will be palpable. I mean, you'll be able to watch it, and you'll know the difference immediately when you see it. And I can't wait. I'm so excited.
Yeah, it's going to be fantastic. And again, I remember, and this is vague, and do not quote me on this, but when I had a really nice conversation with Chip Kelly at the Four Seasons in Dallas before that championship game, Oregon, Ohio State. And I felt like he said he was rooting for Urban, because we always talk about like successor syndrome, because Helfrich was the new guy. And, if Helfrich wins that championship, then Chip Kelly is kind of like, a tier below him. Yeah. So Urban, like running it up on him, I don't think Chip was like crying tears, at that point. But I remember something like that. Cause again, I had a great conversation with him and his one D-line coach, his name, it was like Joe Azazano. He was with them everywhere. He went to Oregon, Eagles, Niners. He was with UCLA. I think he retired, but he was there too. And it was this just great dudes. And like I said, again, you call me fanboy, I don't care. If I could talk football with Chip Kelly, I'm doing it. I'm going to shoot my shot. And it's like, I'm not going to I don't need his autograph. I don't want a photo, but I love to talk about his concepts. And he was awesome. And I mean, he was like, again, a guy like me who looks like an orc walking up, like from not Game of Thrones, the other one, Lord of the Rings. Like when an orc walks up to you and starts talking about like scheme, he was like stunned that I wasn't just like grunting and, belching the whole time I was talking to him. So it's pretty good. This is probably the greatest screen name ever created on YouTube. Not Kirk Barton. This is a great screen name. Thanks for the 10. The wake of destruction that Harbaugh leaves behind will be extensive. 10 years from now, when their championship team reunites at the Big House, will Harbaugh be applauded or booed? Ooh. See, I think he'll be applauded because I think that, they'll want that old thing back kind of thing, like that, like the old rap song. They want that old thing back. And again, I think that the guy who's going to get like beaten down and lashed is Ward Manuel. Because I think that the dumbest part of the fan base actually thinks that Ward Manuel like could have prevented him leaving. But again, he also did make him take a pay cut. I mean, it took cut his salary in half a few years ago. So again, I don't know if I'd ever do that to a coach that I actually wanted to keep. But that's a great question. And it's also a great screen name, not Kirk Barton. Nevada, will Jim Harbaugh be booed in 10 years when they have the 10-year reunion of the 14 championship team? Or excuse me, the 24 championship team? No chance.
No chance. Now,
Yeah.
for the Michigan fans, this was all worth it, man. This was all
Oh
worth
yeah.
it. You know, the cheating's okay. The line to the NCAA was just about a cheeseburger. Jim's the hero. Ward Manuel's the villain. I mean, no, this. Are you kidding me? Like they'll have statues of him outside the stadium. So no, he will definitely he'll be revered. And Connor Stalions will be the same way. Connor Stalions, I mean,
Oh
that
yeah.
that program is so completely morally bankrupt that to think that they would treat them with those guys with anything but just like crazy adoration, I'd make book on that one. I'm telling you.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that, like when Connor Stalions like, oh, he never has to pay for a beer again in Ann Arbor, and Harbaugh, they're going to build a statue of him. I mean, okay. Like, I mean, that's where they're at. I mean, that's okay. They got over, they got their championship, but it's like, man, they're about to get smoked by the NCAA. Because again, they're going to make an example of these guys. Like, people think that's not coming. They're out of their mind. CR Meehan 24. Thank you for the 5. Hey fellas, Bill said he would be running an OSU offense rather than Bill O'Brien offense. Is Chip's mentality the same? Hope your son is doing well. I appreciate that very much. My kid is, he's just sleeping, and so when you hear the occasional yelp or screaming, it's because he's like literally one room over. I've been demoted to sleep in the basement, so my little 5-year-old or my little 2-year-old is taking my spot, but which is fine, completely fine with it. I think it's going to be the Ohio State offense. Like that's kind of the mentality that I think Randy's going to have. You can get up there and say, "Oh, it's going to be the Bill O'Brien offense, Chip Kelly." It's going to be the Ohio State offense. Like that was something that I thought Urban was excellent about. Is when we all came together and it was a big cluster of Ed Warner's Kansas stuff and Tom Herman's Iowa State stuff, and then Florida, the stuff that Urban knew that Zach Smith and Stan Drayton knew. Like when that all came together, it was the Ohio State offense. It wasn't the Tom Herman Iowa State offense. It wasn't, hey, this is what we did, when we were at Navy, if you're like Ed Warner or whatever, like it was the Ohio State offense. And I think that's going to be Ryan Day's thing because, Chip is going to learn Ryan Day's verbiage. I'm sure a lot of it is close to the same, but it's not going to be exactly the same because they've been apart for a hot minute now, 5-6 years. But Chip will learn it. I mean, he's a razor sharp dude. So I think, he'll add his concepts and the things he likes. But again, I think that the amount of, efficiency and the amount of things that they do and they tweak and the concepts that they install that are going to be different or that they steal from other people are going to be incredible. That's what I love about like this time of the year is where you really study, other teams in the NFL, other teams in college, and you see what was really productive, what are the new trends in college football, and then you get this kind of fashion your playbook. I mean, you're always going to have like your 80% of your core stuff, and then the 20% is like the new stuff that you see other teams doing or see other, like RPO type stuff that's really efficient in college football, and that's what you kind of experiment with in spring ball. Nevada, do you think Chip is going to be running the Chip Kelly offense, or is he going to run the Ohio State offense?
Well, you got to remember the Ohio State offense right now in this current iteration is basically, generation 4 of the Chip Kelly offense. I mean, Ryan Day, that's
Yeah.
where Ryan Day learned offense was from Chip Kelly. So it's going to be the Ohio State offense, but it's going to be the improved mega uber version of the Ohio State offense, circa 2024. With some great new running concepts. You're gonna see the quarterback run more because that is a staple of the Chip Kelly offense. And for me, if that was the only change that we made, I think that would be profound. But the fact that we're gonna have that in combination with the greatest offensive mind that I've ever seen in college football, I just can't wait. I can't wait to see what they dream up. I just know guys we're gonna have a lot less loser plays. We're gonna have a lot less running into mass fronts, and guys like Quinshawn and Trey are gonna get a chance to operate in space, and that's gonna be glorious to watch.
It's going to be so beautiful, and I cannot wait. Sean, thank you for the deuce. I'm not sure if you had a question, but if you do, throw that in the chat. I will try to find it and get it answered for you. JC, thank you for the 5. Can you and Nevada give us a percentage chance that the Boston College tackle enters the portal and a percentage chance that we get him if he does? I mean, I think that it comes down to who can Bill O'Brien get as his O-line coach. I think that's going to be the big thing is, is he going to get a big time offensive line coach? Is he going to be a guy that meshes? That window is still pretty open, and then you got to go through spring. But I don't know. I think that Bill O'Brien showing up probably helps him stay just because of the NFL stuff. But they still got to find a position coach. That's the thing, is like he doesn't have a staff built yet, and that tackle is going to have a lot of options. And again, if he hits the free agency with the NIL stuff, he can go make money to go play it for a national championship contender. Like, because BC, no matter who you have as the head coach, isn't anywhere near a contender. No matter, I mean, you could hire Bill Belichick, Nick Saban, the whole thing, but the players aren't good enough. So that tackle's got a decision to make. I'd say probably 50-50, just because, and again, I'm not trying to be whatever, but I think it really comes down to who do they hire as the O-line coach, because I think that's the most important thing. Again, like with Caleb Downs and Bama, that's what I kept saying over and over again. I'm like, guys, like Washington's defense was so unsound. Like they were never gap sound. And I mean, when I watched their stuff before Michigan, it was absolutely atrocious. Like leading into that game, I was like, Michigan's going to destroy these guys because Michigan runs the ball. They play very sound football with Jim Harbaugh and their defense, and they're in the right places at the right times. Washington's guys, it was like potpourri every time I watched their guys line up, and I was like, this is going to be really, really bad versus Michigan. Now, they might get a couple of like havoc plays where somebody sneaks through because they got two guys in the same gap or some dumb stuff like that on defense. But, in general, if you play that way, you're going to get gashed versus a team like Michigan that's really good fundamentally. But yeah, so I'll say, I don't say 50. I'll say 40-60 that he jumps. And then if he hits the portal, I know that we got money set aside for him. So, they got money ready to go for Ozzie. So if Ozzie wants some of that loot, come on through, boy. Your thoughts on that, Nevada?
I'd say with O'Brien going there, I mean, remember he was comfortable staying there in a half league. I'd say it's 30% he goes, but 95% he goes to Ohio State if he does go. So that's I think it'll depend on the O-line coach, but this is clearly going to be a priority for O'Brien, is keeping him. They'll try to charm him into staying. He'll lean on his NFL background. So, I think O'Brien going there definitely lowers the percentage, the possibility. But if he does jump, he's going to be a Buckeye.
Well, and again, like if you're going pure business decision, it doesn't hurt him to jump into the portal. Because again, he could always, like Carter Smith jumped into the portal and he visited places. And, if Carter just stays at Indiana, a kid from Old Tangy Liberty, a kid that started as a redshirt freshman in Indiana at left tackle, if he just stays at Indiana, he doesn't get any money. But he hit the portal, talked to Ohio State. We weren't interested. Talked to some SEC schools. They offered him serious cash. And then Indiana came back with that new coach and said, we're going to give you a chunk of NIL pie to stay. And so he did. So it was kind of like, again, he could have sat there and not done anything, but instead he went in the portal, visited places, and then he came back to Indiana and they gave him a nice chunk. So I don't know. Like, I mean, he's got the same role, except he's got a lot more money in his bank account, which is great. Ben G, thanks for being an ultra member. Appreciate you, my man. Kirk, glad your son is doing okay. I am too, because it was scary. Just want him to heal up and not have the pimp limp as he gets older. But young kids heal quick, which is good. I mean, they're very, they're very, very tough. So he's a little squawky right now, but this next week's gonna be tough. But I think after that he'll get in the groove. Any thoughts on where Mello or Whitfield slot in if they're hired on? I honestly think they'd both be special teams coordinators. I think that Akika Malo, who's the kid from UCLA, is really interesting because he coached outside linebackers in D-line. So I know there's always been this, well, is it going to be, Jason Taylor, or is it going to be, Daryl Tapp, or is it going to be all these other like DN coaches, D-line coaches that I've heard kind of bantered about is the 10th coach, and then they're like the assistant D-line coach, Larry Johnson. But like, I think that's such a terrible look because it's like, when you hire, kind of like you're pushing him out the door. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. I'd rather just hire James Laurinaitis because he's a guy that wants to be here more than anything in the world, and I think he's a dynamic recruiter. But I think if they hire Malo or Whitfield, it'd be as a special teams coordinator, in my opinion. Nevada, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, special teams coordinator, and both of them are ace recruiters. They're both really, really, really good on the recruiting thing. And I know that that's something that Ryan Day's made a point, that he wants guys with recruiting chops, and that's obviously why James fits the bill as well. So It'll be interesting to see if Tap's name kind of emerges after the Super Bowl. Haven't heard it yet, but that certainly could change over the next 48 hours. So we'll keep you informed.
I totally agree. Tony Turley, what's up, brother? I hope you're having a good time up in Northwest Ohio. Appreciate you, my man. Thanks for being an Ultra member. Thank you for the 100. That is incredibly generous. So thank you. Going right to pay it forward. We signed a bunch of people up today. It was a blast. So you guys keep sending them in. If you have candidates, Buckeye Scoop at gmail.com. We verify everything. We got the military IDs done today, and it was super easy. So we appreciate you guys. With running the quarterback a lot more, backup quarterback becomes very important, even for a series or two for minor dings. Can we presume Chip Kelly wants this at the second and third quote-unquote string quarterbacks get reps with the first team at practice? First and second generally get the same amount of reps because usually the first and second team quarterback are both on one side of the field working versus the scout team defense, which is like the young guys that aren't playing. They give a look of Akron's defense or Michigan's defense. And the third string guy is usually on the other field playing scout team, like Lincoln Kienholz was. He was the guy who's giving our defensive look of like what Michigan does or whatever. So I think to get the third guy reps with the ones and twos might be a little tough but this year is different though. We've got 5 quarterbacks this year, so it's a totally different animal. But obviously that could change if one of them transfers out after spring ball. But when you've got Julian and Air, 2 guys in the same class, like those guys are both going to be running scout team this year. So I'd imagine you're going to have a combination, at least the top 2 of, if Devin sticks with Will Howard and Lincoln. I mean, you're going to have to figure that out. But I don't know if you can. The problem is there's just not enough reps. There's not enough time to really give the threes runs with the ones because you got to get your first team. You got to get Will Howard ready. It's not like Will Howard's in his 5th year in the system. Like he's learning the offense right now, it's exciting, but it's also terrifying, because he's not, like when I was in my 5th year in the program, I didn't even need to look at the playbook because it was old hat. I knew it like the back of my hand. I knew every check. I knew everything that every offensive lineman did. I knew all the calls. It was super easy. But when you got a bunch of guys learning it, I don't know if you have enough reps to give one to Lincoln, and you need Will Howard to take every rep humanly possible this spring. Your thoughts on that, Nevada?
Yeah, that's tough. Like you said, you just have limit. I mean, one of the things they had done last year in the fall was running those 2 field type of situations right there and try to get more reps out that way. And, that kind of worked out well. But yeah, it's hard. It's hard doing it with 4. It's really hard doing it with 5. So it's going to be a challenge. But, the good news is you've got Ryan Day and Chip Kelly now. So you've got, people are saying who's going to be the quarterback coach. Well, you've got 2 of the best right there on the same staff. So, the guys will get attention from some of the greatest, quarterback minds of all time. And, but it'll be interesting to see how they manage. That'll be something that we'll be watching really carefully through the spring and giving you the first line reports.
Yeah, I think it's going to be awesome, and it's going to be exciting.
And Tony, thank you. You're a Hall of Famer, buddy. Thank you so much for all your generosity.
Yeah, Tony's about to taking a big step behind the scenes. I'm really excited for him. Buckeye Blitz, thank you for the deuce. Could Moore get fired during the investigation? Maybe. I mean, the thing about it is, man, he is, he took that deal, obviously, to get set for life. He was make $5 million a year or whatever, $6 million a year to be the head coach at Michigan. But like, his staff is very, very, very underwhelming. Very underwhelming. And so, he might get fired just because they're not going to win enough over the next 3 to 4 years. Because I really think he's going to be in over his head. It's easy to coach on game day when the other 6 days Jim Harbaugh is driving the bus and you've got a really veteran. Again, they had the oldest team in college football, 44 seniors, a lot of 6-year guys. Like, it's a lot easier to control that and run that show. A lot of guys that have played a lot of ball, Blake Corum, great leadership. This year, it's the complete opposite. It is. Everyone's brand new. You got to remember, they're replacing all 5 starting offensive linemen. That is terrifying. They're replacing their quarterback, who's going to be a top 15 pick. They're replacing Blake Corum. It's going to be devastating. So, but your thoughts about it? Could Sherrone Moore get fired during the investigation?
I mean, he could. Like I said, you'd like to think that they would have, a pretty good handle on what's going on with the NCAA and what they can directly tie back to Sherrone Moore. As we all know, they all knew what was going on. He was one of the biggest benefactors of the cheating. It's just a question of what they can tie directly back to him. So is it possible? Yes. Have I heard anything about that? I haven't. But as things are kind of passed on from the NCAA to the Big Ten, and the Big Ten is kind of monitoring the NCAA investigation in real time, we'll get a much better handle on it as it gets closer to the letter of allegations, and I'll let you know what we hear.
Yeah, I totally agree. Don Schaefer, thank you for the 10, and thanks for being a Scoop Ultra member. Appreciate you, my man. Thoughts on the NFL commish doing something if the NCAA drops show cause penalties on Harbaugh or the other coaches? He's done it to players and coaches. That'll be really interesting because, Truss got hammered when he was still the coach. But then, when he went to the Colts, he had a multi-game suspension. I don't know. I think it'd be fair, because Jim Harbaugh's clearly skating out of there to dodge everything. But how would that react? I don't know. Terrell Pryor, he was suspended. He obviously had a huge role in the Tat Gate thing or whatever. But, at this point, it's silly talking about that when you see what these kids are doing now. But, at that time, it was illegal. So whatever. Nevada, do you think that Roger Goodell could penalize Jim Harbaugh as he's the head coach of the Los Angeles Chargers?
Well, I think he's going to. Now, I want to draw the distinction so that I'm quoted properly on this. The penalties that Goodell do will not mirror what the NCAA is doing. So it's not like if they give him a 6-year suspension or show cause that he'll give him a 6-year penalty. But he'll do something. They'll hit him with some sort of financial penalties. They'll hit him with losing a draft pick. They'll do something. But Goodell's not going to let him just completely burn down Michigan football, skate, take the staff, and escape the sanction. Goodell will hit him with something. I would make bank on that.
I totally agree. This is interesting. Okay, the career guy. Thank you for the 5. I keep hearing from others on the Buckeye beat that Michigan is returning a boatload of talent on defense and will still field an elite defense this year. Well, maybe. They lose Chris Jenkins, who's excellent. They lose Brendan McGregor, who is their best edge rusher. Mike Stanseri, who is their All-American nickelback. Josh Wallace, Michael Barrett. So they lose their starting middle linebacker, starting Sam linebacker, starting corner, nickel, their best defensive tackle, and their best D end. And then another end who had 31 starts. So, yeah, could they be good? Sure. But they're losing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 starters, and you start 11 guys in college football. So again, there's a reason why most of the Buckeye beat watches what we do and what we say, and we don't watch their stuff because sure, could they be great next year? Absolutely. But they lose 7 starters off of a defense. So they got 4 guys back, and could they reload? Yeah. But the thing that you have to remember, the best defense in the world is a great offense, and especially a great rushing offense. So when that team can rush the ball the way Michigan did, who ran for 300 yards in the national championship game, keeps the defense off the field, keeps the defense fresh, keeps them in great position, burns the clock up, And again, they're losing all 5 starting offensive linemen and Blake Corum and J.J. McCarthy. So I hope this defense is eating their Wheaties because they're going to have to carry this team because the offense is going to have a new quarterback and 5 new offensive linemen. And trust me, if there's something that would terrify me in life, like I'm not scared of Freddy Krueger or Jason or, anything. I'm scared of replacing 5 offensive linemen at once and a new quarterback. That is really, really scary. But that's just my opinion. And again, whoever's saying that, God bless them. I'm sure they're still terrified because they don't really know anything about football because they've never played football. They've never coached football, but they like to write about football. So that's great. But your thoughts on that, Nevada? They lose 7 starters on their defense.
Well, you can bet on this. They just came out with the odds, the future bets. This is for regular season wins next year, and the over/under for Ohio State is 10.5. The over/under for Michigan is 9.5. I'm giving you 2 bets right now. Bet Michigan under 9.5. Bet Ohio State over 10.5. I'm telling you, that's easy money.
Yeah, and on offense, they lose J.J. McCarthy, Blake Corum, Cornelius Johnson, Roman Wilson. So they lose their 2 starting wide receivers, their best running back, their top. J.J. is in some mock drafts is top 20, which is crazy. But hey, a top 20 quarterback's a top 20 quarterback. Ladarius Henderson, all Big Ten tackle. Keegan, 3-time All Big Ten guard. Nugent, all Big Ten center. Zinter, All American guard. and then Carson Barnhart, who was second team All Big Ten last year. So those are 5 NFL draft picks on the offensive line, and they're all gone. So, okay, we'll see. I mean, the thing is, they're really here's the thing: when you're a really, really, really old team with a bunch of 6-year guys, like you get to come pay the piper now because now you're gonna have a really, really, really young team because those guys will eventually all move on. Paul Lewis, thank you for the 50, my friend. Appreciate you. Kirk, does James want to go full time? Yes. He's 37 years old. He's not a kid. And again, I'm gonna say this because Paul, I hear this a lot and I don't know where it comes from. I'm like, guys, anybody that's a graduate assistant that coaches at Ohio State wants a full-time job, especially if they can stay at Ohio State, especially if they're from Ohio State, especially if their family is from Ohio State. Like his wife went to Ohio State with him. Like he wants that job more than anything in the world. He's proven it by recruiting the whole 9. So it's absolutely imperative that he gets it. Your thoughts on that, Nevada?
Well, we have to remember though that James is not on the Burt Carton, analyst, graduate assistant, whatever you want to call it, plan where he's making $11,000 a year and a Chipotle gift card or something like that. I mean, James is making $250,000 or whatever it is in his current role. So it's not as bad as it sounds when yes, he's not one of the 10 countable coaches, but it's a pretty sweet gig right now for a guy who's got deep ties to Columbus. His wife's got deep ties to Columbus. They got 3 girls. So I'm not saying don't cry for me, Argentina, but James, if anybody was in a position to maybe be patient about things, it would probably be James. Now, I'm not saying that's a reason to not give him the job or whatever, but he's got a pretty decent gig right now. But is he desirous for more? 100% he is. He has big time aspirations. As Kirk has pointed out, he's not a spring chicken. He's not 21 years old. He wants to go on and do things in coaching. Time's the enemy here. And hopefully it works out at Ohio State. And I really do think it will because he's such a great Buckeye, such a great fit. And I hope he's the 10th countable coach. I'm really rooting for that.
Yeah, and when you're a 37-year-old GA, like there's a little bit of embarrassment there. I'll be honest. I mean, I was like a 27-year-old GA, and I hated it because most GAs are like 23, 24 guys that they played football or they graduated from undergrad and they were student coaches and they become GAs. So like when you get to be an old guy and you're a GA, it kind of sucks, And again, James is 10 years older than I was, and I hated it back then. But at least he's making a livable wage, or he's making a great wage of $200,000. I made 17 G's, which is hilarious. Thank God I was in the league for a few years. But, I think that, he just, when you're a coach and you look around and you see some of the guys, like if I'm James, and again, you don't need to be pocket watch, whatever. But like if they're paying Parker Fleming $500,000 to be a special teams coordinator and he's atrocious, again, I knew Parker inherently well. And like James Laurinaitis has forgotten more of football than Parker Fleming will ever know for the next 1,000 years of his existence. And so eventually you're just kind of like, am I in the twilight zone that this guy's working as a full-time guy and I'm not? And again, that's just because I've sat literally in James's seat as a GA. And I'm like, I was around guys that's like, he's terrible. And he's a terrible recruiter. And he's embarrassingly bad around parents and players and whatever, because again, if the kids in your room, if you're the linebacker coach, the O-line coach, if those kids aren't buying what you're selling, and then those kids out on the road aren't buying what you're selling, then you have no chance. And there were a lot of guys that I worked with that I was like, whew. And again, it's just so I see why it'd be frustrating if I was in James's shoes. Obviously, I'm not in James's shoes, but I think that his upside is high or higher than Brian Hartline's. Now I might be crazy, but he was a better NFL player and he's a better college player. So. And he worked just as hard, and he was a 2-time captain. So a lot of attributes there that I really, really like. But great question, Paul. Appreciate you, brother. Jared A. Brandon, thanks for being a Scoop Ultra member. Appreciate you, my man. Been waiting on this. This is a great question. Your thoughts on Wink Martindale hired as DC at Cheat again? It's said he is in the same coaching tree as the other defensive coaching blokes that fled from the program. Shout out to Tora and my guy, David Fennell. Thank you as always. Tora is the absolute GOAT. Appreciate you. And David he's awesome. Thank you so much, David. You're always on here too. It's very, very interesting because Wink Martindale is the guy. I was with him in Denver when he was the DC there. loud, boisterous guy. A lot of bluff. Obviously, got ran out of New York just because he was clashing with the head coach, the Giants, very publicly. Very big personality, but I think he's a guy that this was probably the best job he had this year, but it's not a job that he wants. This he is not a college guy. He's an NFL guy. He's been in the NFL for a long time. So now to recruit and NIL and transfer portal and it's like you're swimming in the deep waters now if you don't really know what you're doing. Um, and then you see all these guys leaving. I'd be like, why are they all leaving? So I don't know. I think he's going to try to get out of here as fast as possible. And he's the kind of guy that if he did like some Bill O'Brien stuff and he left in the next 3 weeks because some NFL thing happened or somebody retired or again like the big rumor with obviously Andy Reid is going to retire. Steve Spagnuolo is likely to be the next head coach of the Kansas City Chiefs, the DC there. If for some reason he wanted to hire Wink, like that'd be like something I could see happening. Your thoughts of that on Wink Martindale as the DC?
Yeah, you couldn't have said it any better. He's an NFL guy, doesn't like college football, doesn't know college football, isn't going to stay in college football. And yeah, if you had like the Deadpool on which guy is going to leave immediately and leave a team in lurch, he's got to be at the top of your list because he's still fielding NFL offers right now, even though he's the Michigan head coach. And I've got that from agents. So I just do not see him long for Michigan. I'm not even sure if he'll coach a game there. I'm dead serious about that. Mark that down. You guys can hold me to that one.
Yeah, I mean, he's the kind of guy like if he got like a linebacker coaching job, in the NFL, I could see him jump into that because once these sanctions hit, man, it is going to be nasty. And again, I wouldn't want to be. And again, they're all leaving. I mean, everyone. Paul Lewis, thank you for the 20. JJ Smith, of course. I've got a text out to a guy that will know, so I'll see if I can get that. That is a great question, and hopefully, if I don't get it tonight, I will get it tomorrow for you, and I will not forget, unless I can't find it. But I'll look and work as hard as I can. Let's go. No regrets. Thanks for being a Scoop Ultra member. Appreciate you, and thank you for the 5. When I first started listening to the back and forth in Nevada, but his extreme hatred for the Cheaters up north has endeared me to him. Brothers at heart for sure. So you were back and forth on Nevada, but he hates Michigan so much that now you like him. Well, that's good. Nevada, your new brother in arms. Let's go. No regrets. He loves your hatred for Michigan. You've never been one of the guys where you want Michigan to be good, correct?
No, I'm not like you. I'm not like you. I'm not. I'm not. Like that's the one thing. Like Kirk. When I watched you play, man, I loved you. It's like the whole thing and the cigar and the rose in your mouth, even though you weren't going to the Rose Bowl, which I didn't understand. I'm like, does he realize they're not going to the Rose Bowl? But I didn't even care because I loved you so much as a player. I'm like, this guy's awesome. And then you come out with that steaming hot take. I want Michigan to be good. I want them to win every game. And I'm just like, oh my, I don't even know you're a stranger to me. So no, I want Michigan to lose every game. I don't want ever them to be happy. I root against them every single game I do. And when they win, their winning pains me as much as like an Ohio State loss. I mean, I that's how much my hatred is for them. So it's deep and profound. If that has brought us together with me and another Ultra member, then that's beautiful. Because I got to tell you, my partner in my business, Burke, he's a stranger to me, man. I'm telling you.
Why? Because I want Michigan to be good.
Because you used to hate them, and now you're like, oh, I want them to be good. I want them to win.
I want them to be. I just want them to be so happy. And I want them to be so good. I just love life every day. Wake up every day and win the national championship and get to rub it in our faces. I love that. Well, I mean, I just like I mean, the game. Everyone remembers the 1-2 game, and why was that like the biggest Michigan game? Ohio State, because it was 1-2. Like in 05 when they had like
no, they remember because we won. If we'd have lost that game, Kirk, we wouldn't be talking about that game. You're like, do you not understand? Like, it's a great game. It's the greatest game in the history of the stadium. It's one of my most cherished memories of my life because we won. Had we lost, that game would stink. I don't want Michigan to be good. I don't care. I want them to lose every game. I want them to be 0-11 when we play them, and then we stomp them 68-0 or so. The 64-32 game or whatever by Urban. My only sadness was we didn't get over 70. That's the thing. But the 06 game was great because we won. But I digress.
Well, I like the 06 game because they were number 2 and we were number 1. So I'm just gonna say that I like. I like beating really, really good squads, and they were good. And I mean, they had a lot of great players. And, like nobody remembers like the '08 game where we beat them Rich Rod's first year when he had Nick Sheridan playing quarterback, and they were the worst Michigan team maybe in history, So again, I don't want Michigan to be good, but I don't mind when they're good because when we beat them when they're good, like in the 16 game that went to double overtime, and like those ones where people are like, oh my God, this is amazing. Like when you play some of these dog water Michigan teams, like nobody cares. I'm looking. This is the next question. Who's the kicker for next year? I honestly don't care, but I also don't know. I'll be honest. Like I always assume that we're gonna find someone in the portal. The thing that drives me crazy is the preseason All-American kicker on a lot of these teams is at Miami of Ohio, and I'm like, why can't we go get that kid? There's a kid named Austin Snyder. I think he's a walk-on. I doubt it's him. Casey Magyar is from Dublin. He's a transfer from Kent State. Again, I honestly don't know. I'm literally just naming the kickers on the roster. And the Ohio State website is atrociously bad to navigate that stuff. So I'm gonna throw that out there real quick. So yeah, I don't know. I think it's gonna be an open competition. Parker Lewis transferred out. He was here at SC, really didn't do anything. So we're gonna see what we can do. Nevada, you probably have nothing on the kicker, correct?
Well, I mean, the place kicker we're returning it. We're talking about the punt. We got to be talking about the punter, right? Because I mean, that's the guy that went to Vanderbilt with his girlfriend or went there to get a master's.
Yeah, Mirko. Is the kicker back?
Pretty sure the kicker's back.
Yeah, I don't know. Unless he is talking. Is he talking about the punter? I knew that the punter was the one where I was like, Jesse Mirko goes to Vandy, which makes no sense. So he can probably punt 800 times. But yeah, I don't really worry about the kicker because I always assume that we could maybe get someone. The thing I don't understand is why does Michigan always have guys that can hit 50-yarders and we can't find anybody in the country who can hit a 50-yard field goal? Like that boggles my mind. Like Jake Moody's like a 3rd-round pick. He's kicking in the Super Bowl as a rookie. And like we can't find a guy that can hit anything over 45 yards, which is perplexing to me. Is giving how good our offense is. And again, that's why Parker Fleming should have been fired years ago. Like, what do? Your job is to find a kicker and a punter and a long snapper. Long snappers really usually don't put on scholarship until they're here. So I digress. But, we should have a better kicking situation than we've had. Because, again, I played with Nuge. Nuge could hit him from 60. He was unbelievable. Jeff Rittenhouse, thank you for the 5. Appreciate you, my man. As a father of 4 athletes, including triplets. Wow, that had to have been something, man. I expect to be on a first-name basis with doctors in the local ER. Laugh out loud. I've gotten that a lot. And, again, I don't expect this to be our lone trip to the hospital. I've got kids that are... they treat their bodies like battering rams. So trust me, this is not going to be like a one-time thing. But when your leg's in a full cast, you might be a little bit more careful. Treasure the Torah. Torah, what is up, brother? Thank you for the hundo. Kirk, what's the deal, my brother? Stay golden and stay strapped. Let me get the golden. I'm actually going to get the golden strap. We got the golden strap for Torah, my boy. Site championship. Respected, love Nevadabuck and all my Nevadabuck family in the chat. Also, make sure you give Devin a wrench tonight to help me in the chat. Love and respect you, brother. Tora, I'm going to get with you after the show to get that done because I was looking at how to do that. But we're going to get Devin. Devin, who is Ohio 7715, is officially going to be part of the Legion of Doom that is Torah and Ohio 7715. So we appreciate you guys for patrolling that chat. Nevada, words for the great Torah Akeem the Dream.
Look, you have to have great heroes on the board, to go to battle the villains that are there in the chat, and all those Michigan little trolls. I just feel that they're just like kind of scurrying over the walls, and you're there with this like big old hammer there to exterminate them. So just know that you're like doing the White Walkers out there on the wall with Game of Thrones or something like that. So we appreciate you being on the wall. We know you're always on the wall, and I'm resting easy in King's Landing because you're on that wall. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, he is hammer time, and it is awesome. So I appreciate you. Let me see. I got Torah. So thank you, brother. I'll catch up with you after the show. TG Buckeye 10. Thank you for the 5. And A++ staff helps even more for 12-team playoffs, giving Day and Kelly multiple weeks to carve up a defense and game plan. Also, Scoop to the moon. I love the moon. I agree. I think when you get these guys time to game plan and get ready, like it's going to be scary. I mean, between the depth of our coaching staff, the variety of our coaching staff and the depth of our total roster, this is going to be a scary team to see in the playoffs. 'Cause I'm telling you, we're deep and we're good. And we've got really, really good alignment on the coaching staff, which I absolutely love. So I love it all. Nevada, your thoughts on Chip Kelly and Ryan Day having multiple weeks to scheme up versus a defense?
Yeah, it's going to be scary. I mean, Ryan's always been, exceptional in that situation. You think back on the Georgia game and some of the other games where he's had some time to game plan Clemson 2020. I mean, so the fact that we're going to have both of those guys together, I mean, look, I know people want to not have the hype train go off the thing and are like, look, I don't want to be disappointed. I don't want to get my hype, my hopes up too high, but it's okay to do it. If there ever was a time to be excited about Ohio State football, it's right now. If you can't get excited with Ryan Day and Chip Kelly together and all this talent and all these guys and this great defense coming back, then you'll never be excited. So I say get excited. And if we're disappointed, then we'll be disappointed. But I don't think we're going to be disappointed. I think 2024 is going to be an epic year, and I'm going to enjoy every day between now and then, and can't wait to see what type of game plans those guys cook up.
It's going to be awesome. Drew Dozer, the Prophet, thanks for being on here every night, my friend. Appreciate you. Thanks for the deuce. Can we refer to him as Thick Belly? Chip Kelly, the Thick Belly. I kind of like that. That's kind of funny. Maybe that could be like his alter ego. If he has a bad, as Nevada used to call, what did you used to call Ryan Day? Bad Ryan. You could call him Thick Belly instead of Bad Ryan. I actually kind of like that. That's actually pretty funny. Because he does have, he does have a little bit of that G. It is nice. The problem with like Manhattan Beach in LA is there's a lot of good restaurants, man. And when you're making Chip Kelly money, you can eat at all of them every night. And I think he has been doing a little bit of that. So, Nevada, are you good on Thick Kelly?
Yeah, I get a little thick. I get a little thick oven. You've seen me. I've got my little strawberry Oreo shake thing kind of going on right now. So I got a little thick Kelly going on. I mean, not quite. I mean, Chip's kind of really got it going on. He's more like chocolate chip Kelly or something like that. But
yeah,
or potato chip.
Hey, it's like Scott Hall used to say when he was alive. He said, "Don't never make it about the body, Chico." He said that to them young wrestlers. They're all about being jacked up on the juice. And he said, "Never make it about the body, Chico." I was like, I actually like that because I've never had abs, so it's all good. JR's rankings. Thanks for the 5. I saw a UCLA quote insider report that OSU had offered the OSU job to Tommy Rees. Did you hear? No. Are you kidding me? Over Chip Kelly? Over Bill O'Brien? Like, you want to sing the song, one of these things is not like the other? Like,
oh, God.
In what universe do you think Ryan Day is going to hand the play sheet to Tommy Rees over Chip Kelly and Bill O'Brien? Jesus. Why do these guys call themselves insiders? I mean, we hear everything. God. And I'm like, I never heard Tommy Rees mentioned a single time. I mean, where did he land? Is he an NFL OC right now? He's a tight ends coach for the Browns. Like, I could do that job. He didn't get the job. He's not the Steelers OC or whatever. So no, I roll my eyes. I think I saw that earlier. I was like, there's no way. Like a Chip Kelly, he's the Ryan Day's mentor and the greatest offensive mind in college football history, or Tommy Rees, who didn't even get the head job at his alma mater. They let Marcus Freeman take that job over Tommy Rees. You've got offensive coordinator, Notre Dame guy, Notre Dame royalty, Marcus Freeman, outsider, has been there for a year. And they say, you know what? We're going to give it to Marcus. Like, that's all you need to know. His own alma mater didn't promote him to be the head coach. They picked Marcus. And nothing against Marcus, but he'd been there for 1 year, and Brian Kelly flew the coop. And they said, do we want to hire an alum who played here and played quarterback here, or Marcus? They're in the same exact position, OCDC. And they said, nah, we're going to go Marcus. So, no way. And now he's the head coach of the Browns. So sometimes, when you see where these guys land, it's like they kind of settle into more accurate depictions, because you look at the guys that were Bama's offensive coordinators like Lane Kiffin, Bill O'Brien, Sarkisian. Where do they end up at? Sark's at Texas, Lane's at Ole Miss. Probably could have the Bama, he probably could have the Auburn job at least. Bill O'Brien, Patriots. It's crazy. So that's insane. So again, I think Nevada, we've said enough on that one because that's wild. Andy Body, 00, like 007. Thanks for the deuce. Appreciate you, my man, as always. Tony Turley, thank you for the 200, the Toledo, Tony Turley, my boy. Thanks for being a Scoop Ultra member as well. Thank you for all you're about to get going with our friends that we've got our little group text going in. Here's why Chip Kelly's head coaching record could be misleading. This is going to be really good because I've talked to Tony on the phone and he is wicked smart. So before I just got to make sure my brain is all locked in because he's going to write some really, really good stuff here. Because, okay, he was the innovator at Oregon. He's brilliant but eccentric. The media and NFL smeared him coming out of Philly because grown men with $10 million contracts hate being told what to eat. Yes. And UCLA sucks. Chip is the choice, period. Tony, that is a masterful post. Masterful. Again, the stuff Chip did in Philly where he's like, we're going to practice on Friday and we're going to walk through on Thursday, which is the inverse of what every other NFL, like when people try to bring new ideas to the league and it's kind of like everyone does the same stuff everywhere with little tweaks and maybe little different levels of intensity. But generally it's the same schedule. Like I played on, 5 NFL teams. It was all like the same. Some, if you're on a bad team, practice is probably gonna be a lot harder than if you're on a good team. But other than that, it's the same schedule because that's how it's been for 70 years since Paul Brown invented, the modern NFL schedule. So when Chip comes in and says, no more Taco Tuesday, no more cheeseburgers, we're gonna eat tofu, and whatever he did, like he really tried to make it healthy, and you get your little ginger root protein shakes and whatever, and guys that are making all that money that have already made it eating McDonald's and steak and shake and Taco Bell, they're not having that. That's kind of how it is. So yeah, he was eccentric, and people, when someone who's like that, who's a creative comes into somewhere like the NFL, like they are praying that he sucks and he loses. And again, go look up his winning percentage in Philly. He started off pretty hot. He actually has a higher winning percentage than Doug Peterson. And I know Doug Peterson won a Super Bowl, but like, go look it up. I mean, he didn't do that bad. The wheels fell off that last year. And then, San Francisco was a disaster. But again, I don't give him a lot of grief over San Francisco because he had Colin Kaepernick and he had Blaine Gabbert. So he had 2 trash quarterbacks. And in the NFL, if you have a trash quarterback, if your ownership isn't about that life to like, hey, we're going to suck this year, but next year we'll have a top 2-3 pick where we can go get, a young phenom to develop, then it's going to be really hard. And they had no patience. And that was the stretch where San Francisco, they fired Jim Tomsula, they fired Chip. They had a bunch of 1-year coaches, which is insane in the NFL because, most of those guys have multi-year deals. So if you fire them, you're paying them for 2 or 3 years, just like they're working there. So you better really hate them to get rid of them. But Nevada, your thoughts on Tony Tilley? That is a great, great point.
Well, look, I mean, the thing with Chip, Chip's very comfortable with himself. Chip's a very confident guy. And, head coaches in football and at all levels, basically, they toe the kind of the common lines because they're afraid of criticism. They're afraid of stepping out. They're afraid of doing things because nobody wants to be criticized for going forward on 4th and 1 at your own 27 in overtime or something like that. And let me tell you what, Chip's that guy. And he's very confident. He's very comfortable in his own skin. And that's something that I'm really looking forward to because I think Ryan, we talked about bad Ryan and we talked about tight Ryan, how he kind of tightens up in these big games. Chip will not tighten up in the big game. And Chip will not allow Ryan to tighten up in the big game. And I'm looking forward to I'm looking forward to Ohio State going. I mean, analytically, it says and Chip was one of the first coaches to really fully embrace analytics. And the analytics say you go for it 4th and 1. Anywhere, frankly, they say you go for it anywhere 4th and 2 or less, literally anywhere on the field. Anywhere in the field. It is a higher percentage play to go for it than it is to punt. And I know that's crazy to some people, but that's just fact. That's just math. And I know that Chip Kelly fully embraces that. And I'm looking forward to Ohio State kind of operating on that analytical edge and with that confident play caller going in 2024. It's going to be quite a change and quite a change from punting from the 29-yard line like Tressel or 4th and 1 like Ryan Day did this year in the Michigan game, which I thought was a huge error. Called it at the time. We won't be doing that this year. I can guarantee you that.
Thank God. Tina, what's up, my fellow Perry Panther? How are you tonight? Thank you for the 5. Bama almost lost their new OC. They lost their new OC last night. I saw that to the Seahawks. And a few other coaches 11 minutes before Saban portal close. Uh, some say Grubb made KBD good. Yeah, I mean, I think that you saw what happened. I mean, those guys, they took off in the dead of the night on those kids right as the Saban's 30-day window closed. They went to Seattle. That was the job that they rumored that Chip Kelly was going to be going for, but they had to reorganize already. Kalen DeBoer's not off to a real hot start when he's got to make Nick Sheridan his co-offensive coordinator. He was the tight ends coach, and then the OC left, and they took, I think, the line coach. So they took two important guys to Seattle. So yeah, and that is the definition of a disaster when you bring someone into somewhere like Bama, and then you have two of them leave within a month because maybe they look down there and like, ugh, maybe this isn't what it's cracked up to be, and let's get out to the league and get out to Seattle. But I don't know. When you bring people down there and they leave that quick, it's not good. Nevada, your thoughts on Bama losing two of Kalen DeBoer's guys from Washington that quickly?
Yeah, it's kind of an ominous start. And look, I know there's no loyalty in anything, but the fact that they waited until the end of the 30-day transfer window to do it and announce it, I thought was, I mean, that's low, even by college football standards. That was low. So not getting off to a great start. But if I had to bet, he's going to have it was going to be difficult to follow Nick Saban if you executed perfectly. And what I'd say is that their execution right now is far less than perfect. So I think he's not a Southerner. He's a Yankee. And I think that's going to be a problem. That's going to be a problem. You get away with being a Yankee if you win. But if you're a Yankee and you lose, oh man, it's going to be bad. I'm telling you.
Yeah. So I looked it up. So Grubb also, he took his offensive line coach too. So, I mean, losing your line coach is devastating because Kalen DeBoer went down there and he's like, I got most of my offensive staff. I've got Nick Sheridan, Jamarcus Shepard's a wide receiver coach. And like they're going to be co-offensive. So you're going to have your tight ends guy and your wide receiver coach as your co-coordinators now, which I think is idiotic. Like, again, I get why you make Brian Hartline the offensive coordinator because you want to give him a bump because he's been great at developing and recruiting and stuff. But your offensive coordinator needs to be your quarterback's coach, period, or your tight ends coach at worst. But I think that you got to have that cohesion between the quarterback and the OC and the play caller. I just think I think the way Urban did it and the way that we're doing now with Chip Kelly being the quarterback's coach is the perfect way to do it. Because they have to have massive chemistry when it gets into crunch time in games, and they gotta like be in each other's minds to really run a prolific offense, in my opinion. Again, I saw when we were in 15 and they made Ed Warner the offensive coordinator when Tom Herman left, and he was going to be the offensive line coach, which is the hardest position on the entire team to coach. And then the coordinator, I was like, this is going to be a disaster. There's just no way. Because when you're the line coach, you're never around the throw game, like during the 7-on-7 parts of practice. So you miss all of it. So I don't know how you're supposed to call plays when you don't even know what plays are good or what plays kids like because you're never around your quarterbacks and your receivers. So again, I thought it would be dumb, and I nailed that one. Andy Body, 00. I like the 00. Thanks to the 5, my man. Kirk, my guy. Dadley here. My boys say I should get a shout out as a Navy vet and your grad school boy. I appreciate you, brother. The show's fire. OH, Nevada.
I-O.
Andy Bradley is one of the greatest human beings ever because we used to have to meet at like 6. What do you do? Group projects. We'd have to meet at like 6 a.m. because of me on Sundays because I'd have to be in films at like 8, films 8 a.m. crack of dawn. So my poor group would have to meet at like 6 a.m. on Sunday at Fisher to get together and talk through what we had to do and stuff because of me. Because, when you're a football GA, you don't get a day off and there's no window where it's like, hey, guys, this evening I'll be free. No, you're never free, ever. So those guys were awesome. Justin Michalski, I had some of the greatest friends ever from grad school. We got to get together, my man. And you're a Navy guy, so you're the best. My father-in-law, against the Navy guy, I was talking about that. But I just appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much, and let's catch up soon. I made awesome friends in my MBA program, and anyone that is considering an MBA, it's one of the best things I ever did. Kevin Kilgore, thanks for the deuce. OSU will hang 100 on Michigan this year. Will they? I don't even like saying that because it was like the year that Ryan said that we haven't beaten them since. So I'm just gonna let that dog lie. Hopefully we hang 70 on them and beat them. But it could happen. If we get to 100, that'd be amazing. I couldn't even, the horseshoe might fall down because people would be so excited. Your thoughts, Nevada? Can we hang 100 on Michigan this year?
Yeah, yeah. I have a similar reaction when I hear that, but man, I want to beat those guys bad, and it's so bad that Nevadabuck is making an appearance. Will be at the Michigan game, and can't wait. I'm fired up for that one. I'm counting the days down, so let's get it on.
Yeah, it'll be awesome. OSU Bucks 08. Thank you for the 10. Harbaugh ran his program in the ground just to win one natty. Yes, he did. He left them with no players because they're trash roster construction and is now stealing every last staff member. They are so cool. Yeah, I agree. I mean, they were kind of passionate by getting a lot of portal guys, especially on the O-line. They took 2 good centers in the portal. Their left tackle was a portal guy. So, and their recruiting has not been great. They've been a lot of 3-stars. They don't win a lot of national guys like they used to. Like, back under Lloyd, they were a really good national recruiting team. They got a lot of kids from California, especially Florida, really, really talented players, but they don't really get those types of guys, the high-end guys anymore. But yeah, Nevada, do you agree that Jim Harbaugh ran the program into the ground?
No, he did. I mean, that's exactly what he did. I mean, he was so beaten down and so defeated that when you talk about selling your soul, I mean, selling your soul means a lot of different things, but really in college football, what's more selling your soul than cheating, than on-field cheating, than absolutely doing that? And he sanctioned and organized the largest on-field cheating scandal in college football history. And for him, I'm sure in his kind of warped mind, it was all worth it. But yeah, he left a smoking hole behind him, and the implications for Michigan, they're going to be feeling this for a very, very long time.
Yeah, it's it's is what it is, man. They rob Peter to pay Paul, and the tabs do, man. The Korich, thanks for the deuce, my friend. Appreciate you being on here all the time. How many calories does an offensive tackle eat daily in the season? Well, it depends on where they're at. I mean, for me, it was probably 5,000 or 6,000, I'd bet. If a guy's fat, like we've had fat guys that they have to eat, they have the little menus in the cafeteria where it's like red is like fatty stuff like ranch dressing and chicken and cheeseburgers, and then green is like vegetables and grilled chicken and more vegetables and more vegetables. It's like all the green stuff. Like that's when you hate life, when that's all you get to eat is this. Oh, look at all the green stuff I get to eat. Oh, I get to eat alfalfa and vegetables and more vegetables. Like, this is terrible. But we had fat guys. And Mickey Marotti had a great phrase for him. He called them high needs. If you're high needs, that means you're fat. And you have to do cardio on Saturdays. And they're going to run the crap out of you to get that. Because, again, if you're going to get fat, you're going to pay for it. And it's going to be real painful to get it out of you. But I think, like I was probably about 5 or 6, and again, I was lean. I was in really good shape, especially my senior year. I was really, really dialed in. But you have to, your body, when you get that much muscle mass and you're that lean, your body's like an incinerator. So you could literally eat Oreos and pie and Chipotle and whatever, and it just burns it up. So that's the good part about being young. And especially when you do, your regular workout, you do extra workouts, you do running. I mean, it's just nonstop. So it was a good time. Nevada, how many, calories does a message board moderator eat in a day?
Yeah, well, I guess it depends on the day. And my body's kind of an incinerator too. I mean, I can throw just like cocktails in there. I can throw I'll throw like a late night cheesesteak on top of that. I mean, I'll just just bombard. I'll bombard my body with stuff like that. Take on all comers, man. It's like I'm like Age of Ultron here.
I remember we went to that. God, who's the guy from Hell's Kitchen? We went to that place and you ate like a London broil at like 10 a.m. And I'm like,
nah, it was beef Wellington.
Yeah, beef Wellington, whatever it was. I was like, a beef Wellington at 10 a.m. I was like, strong. I was just like, can I get like an omelet with a lot of water and maybe some hydration, maybe an IV? Poohbeard12, thanks for the Ultra membership, and also thanks for being on here every night. Thanks for being an awesome member of BuckeyeScoop.com, because you're one of the best posters on here. You're absolutely hilarious. And again, learning the genesis of your name on here was absolutely amazing. So I appreciate that. So keep doing the Lord's work with what you do. I used to think that the scum at beat were the dumbest people on earth. They're really, 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 really close. I was wrong. Their fans are worse. They're also very dumb. Some of them are calling it the Chip Kelly hire a debacle, but I'm not sure they know what the word means. Again, I think that they're just trying to I think that they're so delusional at this point that they have to rationalize how can they be having the worst offseason in program history in terms of player losses, coaching losses, head coach who's Mr. Michigan guy leaves, then they got sanctions coming, and then we're having the best offseason in history. Like we got Ross Bjork, we got a brand new monster AD coming in who's a big fundraising guy. We get Will Howard, we get Quinshon Judkins, Jeremiah Smith, Edric Houston, Caleb Downs, Chip Kelly. I mean, this is like, it's almost absurd. It's like, I mean, this is like when you play Madden without the salary cap or something crazy. That's what it is. But Nevada, how dumb is the scum beat? How dumb are their fans and just beats in general?
Well, for fun, you just got to go read some of the comments or go read the Twitter feeds of some of these Michigan insiders. There was one guy, Josh Henske, and his Twitter feed is just like, you go back and stuff, just like, Jim Harbaugh will be signing his extension tomorrow. And then they come out and say, oh, I'm really sorry that I got that wrong. And Jim Harbaugh will be staying here. Oh, I'm sorry I got that wrong. And yesterday he now puts this big thing about clink scale stain. And then it's like this never ending rinse repeat things of erroneous information, apologies, and then going on and posting more. So it's really unlike anything I've ever seen before. But if you have some time, just do that. You put some of those guys on Twitter and read their stuff. It is absolutely hysterical.
That's the dumbest people that were like, "Oh, Bill O'Brien has not cleaned his office out. That is not accurate." And I'm like, why would we randomly make that up? Like, other than
where do we come with that one?
Like, hey, Nevada, you know what we should write about today is that Bill O'Brien on Sunday cleaned his office out, and then he's getting ready to interview, and he feels like he's the top candidate. Like, why would we make that up on a random Sunday? Other than, maybe we had somebody that told us that. It's like people are just they're so dumb. Like, God bless guys. Like, I have a life. I'm not just going to sit here and make up some dumb stuff like that, but it is funny. Ranjit Sori, thank you for the 10. My friend, appreciate you. Love your AVI. That is dope. I hope that OSU football does a better job getting meaningful playtime for depth players. Please, God, let us play our depth guys. I think they will due to potentially longer season. What do you think? I think that is, again, the two biggest areas I've been critical of Ryan Day, and because he does a lot of stuff really well. Not getting the bench emptied fast enough, like getting those starters. Because again, I used to be a starter, and the best part of the game is when you're up by enough that you get to leave the game. Because again, I used to love seeing the young guys get it because those young guys work hard. They're on scout team, and their parents are there too. They fly in from all over the creation, Florida, Texas, Georgia, and like for them just to stand there and not do anything the whole day. And then then we've got our starters out there when it's 49-2 or 7 or whatever. Like, it's just dumb. And again, the bigger thing is those guys need to go play in the shoe because it's different than playing in practice now. Because when you're playing offensive tackle and you don't take a good set and your quarterback gets murdered, like because you didn't take a good set, that's a whole different ball of wax than you're just out of practice and guy runs past you and it touches the quarterback on the black jersey and there's no real consequence to it. Like they got to feel the consequence of, hey, I'm playing man to man on this receiver. If I don't use good technique and he scorches me, the entire stadium is going to see it, and I'm going to look like a donkey. So I just think that of all the things, that and running the quarterback are the two bugaboos I have with Ryan. But really, like you got to get those young guys in there, man. I'm just telling you, it's good for morale, but it's even more important for developing the depth because you want to have a guy like Carson Hinsman, who's our starting center last year, had never played in a game, and I'm like, dude, like with the new red shirt rule, where you literally can play in 4 games, like that should never happen again. Like when I played under the old rules, if you redshirted, you couldn't play a single play at all. And then guys like Urban Meyer, who are really smart and they're really sophisticated, they figured out that if you play kids in the first 4 games, and then you sign a waiver that they got hurt, then they could apply and get a red shirt. And it was almost virtually always guaranteed. And so coaches figured out, hey, here's a loophole. If they play in the first 4 games and then they get hurt, then that still counts as a red shirt. And again, that was the genius of Urban, is he figured that out because a lot of these freshmen show up, man. They're the big man on campus. Like a kid like Brandon Innes. Brandon Innes has been starting as an 8th grader. He's been starting varsity football at American Heritage since 8th grade. So he started, 1,000 games, 80 games in his career. And then, he gets to Ohio State and he's waving the towel. He's on the sideline. He's not playing, whatever. And it sucks. So, when you could get those kids in a little bit, like Innes scoring that touchdown against Purdue was great for his morale. His people back home could see that he's playing, feels better about himself, the whole 9 yards. And I think you need more of that. And again, it's not because I'm some, everybody deserves to play type guy. It's more like everybody needs to play. Because when you're on scholarship, you got to prove that you can play, or else we got to figure out a new home for you in short order. Nevada, your thoughts on rotating more guys in, especially later in the games when it's out of reach?
Well, Ryan Day's told guys that he's going to do that. I mean, that's part of the exit interviews that he's told guys. He has vowed that is a change he's going to make in 2024. So I'm going to take him at his word and say he's going to do it. But he's told the players he's going to be doing that for a lot of reasons that you mentioned, as well as the expanded playoff and the expanded season. So I think it's going to happen.
Yeah, and I think that the longer the season goes, the more guys you're going to need, man. I'm telling you. VP of Hype, thank you for the 5. Why does Portnoy need to be the worst kind of scum fan? I like everything else about him. Because that's just kind of his shtick, just being loud and weird. Now, again, I think Dave Portnoy's a genius. I mean, he built Barstool from nothing, sold it for a ton with the Penn Gaming, then he bought it back and whatever. So whatever he's done really well at. But again, there's, him, Taylor Lewan, there's all these guys that are just complete, more Rich Eisen. Because the top of the Michigan, tier, they're the most annoying, biggest douchebags on earth. And I'm telling you, and so them winning was awful. But the pending nuclear strike that's coming is going to be delicious for us because we are about to go on a crazy tear. Chip Kelly's got a 3-year deal, folks. Jim Knowles is going to be here for a while. Ryan Day's locked in. Our NIL is a monster. I'm excited. If I'm a Michigan fan, man, I hope they enjoyed that January because everything else is about to be absolute destruction. Nevada, your thoughts on your boy Dave Portnoy?
No question, a genius, but he appeals to the lowest common denominator. So
exactly.
It's really not my thing. But for him, it's worked. He's made a lot of money, so kudos. But he's perfect for Michigan because it's like a conglomeration of the lowest common denominator all at one school.
Yep. Oh man, my boy Devin, Ohio 7715, a future co-moderator, co-member of either the Road Warriors or Legion of Doom, whatever you guys want to call it. Thank you for the 400. I've never seen purple before, but that is pretty incredible. Dude, that's so awesome. I appreciate you. I'll catch up with you after the show as well. We got to get that wrench figured out. What's up, Kirk in Nevada? With Chip's running schemes added to our existing passing scheme, we might hang 100 on Scum this year. I would love that. It would be amazing. Met Scoopers in Tallahassee today. It was great. OH, Nevada.
I
actually pointed the right way. So I'm going to tell a real quick story because I was talking to you about this today, Devin. So Devin, awesome guy, was playing in an event. It was a tournament, softball tournament deal. Gave a testimony about kind of his life and his faith, and it was amazing. So he's in Tallahassee, Florida, and there's hundreds of people, if not 1,000 people there. And he asks, "Are there any Buckeyes in the crowd?" And there's like 4 or 5 people, and he does the OH, and then yell back IO, and in Tallahassee, there's a lot of Seminoles, and whoever is good is who they root for in Florida. Like if the Hurricanes are good or the Gators are good, it's this real cyclical in terms of who people root for in Florida. So the Buckeyes kind of stick together. So he told this great story about how after the thing, the Buckeyes came up to him and they started talking like, "Oh, you like Ohio State? Yeah." And do you watch Buckeye Scoop? Was the first question. And they didn't realize that he's on here every night. And now he's going to be part of the Legion of Doom moderators for our show with him and Tora, which is going to be amazing. So I thought that was an amazing story. And I just felt like I needed to share it because, you're an awesome dude, man. It's been awesome getting to know you. But that is cool. When people in Tallahassee, Florida randomly are like, "Hey, do you watch the Scoop?" I think we're kind of catching on a little bit. So, but I'll get with you after the show, Devin. I appreciate you, brother, for all you do. Thank you so much. And Nevada, That's incredible.
Yeah, incredible story, incredible guy, and thanks so much for just being part of the show and doing the dirty work on joining Torah, like you said, on the Legion of Doom. That's a thankless job, but we appreciate it.
And the amazing thing is, like, his girlfriend drove like 7 hours to see him yesterday, and she like walked in the door and she's like, "Hey, baby, I'm excited to see you." And he's like, "Hold up, show's about to come on. I'll see you in a little bit." And like he like banished her to the room. Then we went for like 2.5 hours yesterday, and I was like, and he didn't tell me this until after the show. And I was like, "Oh boy." And she's like, "Yeah, she was mad, but man, I can't miss the show." And I was like, that is amazing. Now you probably got whooped today for that. You probably had to buy her like a nice purse or something. But hey, as long as the show is good, as long as our show is good, then you don't regret it. That makes me feel a lot better. Uh, you're the best, man. Chocolate chip cookie. I'm not gonna say that on here. Like the video, guys. OH. Thank you.
I
See, we got to get Tinkerbuck. We get, was it Chip Kelly Buck? Or what would you say last night? Like Buck? Tinker like?
Tinker Chip. Tinker Chip.
Tinker Chip. I couldn't remember your thing. Oh my God. Eric, I appreciate you, Chocolate Chip Cookie. Thanks for being on here all the time. You've been awesome too. Again, we got a great crowd, and it's like you guys are all super familiar, which is awesome. Eric Bergdorf, thank you for the 50, my friend. That is awesome. Do you think the hesitation with do you think the hesitation with James L is development? If he can get CJ Hicks on the field, then he's a no-brainer hire. I think Ryan is really trying to be diligent. I'm trying to be very fair here, because James hasn't had a full-time job. Again, I have no idea where the things are like, oh, well, he might want to spend time with his family and he might not want to go. I'm like, dude, like when you're in that life, like your family is secondary for as long as you're in it. Like when Urban Meyer was coming up through Bowling Green and Colorado State and Utah and Florida, like the family was always secondary. I mean, to the point where he had to do that little pink contract that, he put in his office and didn't really follow, but it was better in the narrative that he signed a pink contract that, everyone signed, and I will not work as hard and I'll be home early. And I was like, well, that wasn't when I was there, because we were working like crazy, and that's good. And I liked it. Like, honestly, I don't mind grinding, because that's what it takes to be great, especially at college football. But James understands that. I think that, Ryan wanted to put on the road, and he aced that, killed it. There's guys that go on the road and they kind of screw around. There's guys that really crush it, and James crushed it. He did great everywhere he goes. Everybody knows who he is. Players know who he is. He's a real. These guys got a lot of faith to him. So that plays great with the coaches and the parents and stuff. And I just think that James, you put him and Tim Walton on that defensive side, and it's going to be like the Juggernaut and the Hulk running through America, and it's going to be incredible to watch. Yeah, CJ Hicks is a big spring for CJ now. I mean, he's a guy 5 stars, but they put him out there versus Missouri, and it did not look pretty. So CJ's got a lot of ability. He's got a lot of talent, a lot of speed, a lot of athleticism. But in the Jim Knowles defense, you better know what you're doing, and you better get there with violence, and you better be running to the ball. You better give effort, and that's going to be something that they're going to be watching closely, because they only play 2 linebackers. So Cody Simon had right in an ink, barring he doesn't have one of his unforeseen injuries he's had a few of. Then is it Sonny or is it CJ as the other guy? Maybe Gabe Powers. Nevada, your thought on James and then the CJ Hicks deal?
Yeah, well, I mean, look, the CJ Hicks thing it's not about any physical ability. It's just mental. It's about discipline. It's about knowing his responsibilities. Be a great reclamation project for James if you could get something like that. Whether he's the full-time coach or not, that's certainly going to be on his project list. And, as you said, Ryan Day, I've got issues with Ryan Day. Like you said, there's a list of things that we like. There's a small list of things we don't like. But I have to say, he has pulled it all together this offseason. So I'm going to absolutely give him the benefit of the doubt on this 10th coach hire, because really, who's been hotter than Ryan Day right now? So far be it from me to question a guy on a hot streak like this. I believe in streaks. I believe in hot. I believe it when guys got it, they got it. And right now, Ryan Day has got it going on. So I'm just going to sit back and enjoy the show. And if James gets it, it's going to be because he deserved it. And if he doesn't, it's because somebody else was a better candidate. And that's what I'll always believe.
Yeah, I absolutely and totally agree. Jay Pope, thanks for the 10. Kirk, I played against you in high school, and you were a beast. One, what did you think about former strength coach Mike Cochran, my uncle, and starting a line in 2025? You demand. Well, this is likely, I'd say probably Joe Pope played at Hoover. Really good player. Hoover was always a very, and they're always the best team in the Federal League, either us or them. And they beat us our last 2 years. Our senior year, Zach was suspended. Slates was our best player by far, and he was suspended. But you guys beat us fair and square. You guys had Kurt and all those guys, and you guys are always really good. Really, really good. So Hoover was always a dominant program. So appreciate you, my man. Very nice compliment. I really appreciate that. You guys were always the toughest team on the schedule. So credit to you guys, Don Hertler Jr. and you guys. Mike Cochran was awesome. I loved him as a strength coach. I did more of his stuff than Al Johnson. Al Johnson was our head guy. But Cena was a monster. Like Will Smith loved him. It's funny because like when you show up as a young player and you're kind of like a crazy worker, like I was a crazy worker because I knew I was redshirting. So like on Sundays, the day after games, I was in there lifting like hard, like hardcore, a lot of weight, a lot of reps. And guys look at me like I was crazy, but I'm like, guys, I didn't play in the game yesterday. So I have fresh legs. My body's pristine. I'm not sore. I honestly, I missed being sore because like, the day after a football game, you feel like you've been in a car wreck, but at least you feel like you've done something. Like that year that I was redshirted and I'd go to the facility and I felt like my body was burning. I just felt like such a scrub. So I was getting it in because I was like, if I'm not playing, I can go get it in the gym. And I did. Mike Cochran was awesome. And Will Smith said, do what C-Note tells you to do. A lot of the linemen, we did a lot of stuff with Mike Cochran. His nickname was C-Note. But he was a beast, man. He's a wild man. And he beat the crap out of Ryan Hamby one time. I remember that. That was awesome. Because Ryan did something stupid. And I just remember, you know what they did? They schoolboyed him. Him and RJ Coleman schoolboyed him. Like a schoolboy is where there's two guys. One guy like kind of gets down in like on all fours and goes up behind somebody, and then the other guy pushes him. And they schoolboyed C-Note. And that is insanity because C-Note was crazy. And that's the last guy, probably the last guy on the team I'd do that to, but he whooped one of those guys. It was nasty. And I was actually happy for it. I was glad that whoever got smoked got smoked. Starting a line in 2025, you demand. Appreciate the love, the Stark County love. Appreciate you, brother. That is tough because with the portal, it's going to be really, really hard to project out that far. I mean, I don't want to be a cop out, but there's guys that could dip. If Josh Simmons, and again, this will be crazy and people roll their eyes, but if Josh Simmons puts it together, man, he's got the talent to be a guy that could leave. And again, I'm not saying he will, but sometimes guys leave just because they want to go to the league. So Donnie's gone, obviously. So you got to find some guards. I don't know if it's Luke Montgomery. I don't know if it's Seyerveld, Padilla at center, Carson Hinsman. I don't think that the final chapter has been written on Carson Hinsman. I know a lot of people have closed the book on him with them bringing in Seth McLaughlin. But I don't know. I think Carson's determined. I mean, Carson started against Michigan, and he blocked them better than Bama did, but this is my opinion. And again, that's why I don't know how you bury this kid that fast when he had a nice season. Now, he was young, and he was weak, but he's a freshman. Like, redshirt freshmen generally they're not developed. I told, people, I'm like, he has to get stronger. He has to live in the squat rack. He has to get bulkier. And it's not, I don't want to be a big fat guy, but when you've got a little bit more weight behind you, you can push guys around. Like our best centers were guys like LaCharles and Nick Mangold because they could maul people up front. They could push guys back on those interior double teams. And Corey Lindsley was a monster at that. Him and Norrell would just murder guys. And that's what made our offense good. Is we could move the interior guys. And that's what makes you be first in the nation in rushing or whatever. In 13, when we averaged like 6.5 a carry with Braxton and Carlos Hyde, that was as good as we've ever done. And it was because that line was so good at double teaming because we worked at it. But yeah, I'll get back to you on that line just because I think with the portal, it's tough to project. But I think you got to put Carson Hinsman in there, Josh Simmons. He'd have another year left. And then you got to find some guards. I mean, you got to look at Luke Montgomery. You got to look at George Fitzpatrick, Tigra. But again, some of these guys, they're going to be unhappy if they're not starting this year. So it'll be interesting to see what could happen there. Survived the hunt. Thank you for being a Scoop Ultra member. Appreciate you, brother. Thank you for the 5. Watching the Cheaters up north to be good is like wanting Satan to be good. Go Bucks. I don't know if I go that far. I don't want Satan to be good, but I liked beating good Michigan teams. Like that's gratifying. But that's me. Nevada. I know where you're gonna go. You're gonna cut my head off like Ned Stark again. But go ahead and do it. I know you're dying to do it.
I think Satan in Michigan. I think it's a great
Oh
discussion.
my God.
No, yeah. I don't like Michigan. I'm not sure if that's come across to you guys, but I really don't like Michigan, and I don't even understand people wanting to be good. But hey, that's a story for my psychiatrist in another show or something like that. But so we'll move on.
I like high difficulty. Well, dude, like when you play Civilization 5, do you play it on Chieftain or do you play it on like Deity or do you play it on like Emperor, like level 7 or whatever it is? Do you play it on Chieftain or do you play it on like level 7?
No, I like playing on level 5 and beating it. I've beaten it at level 7 world domination one time, which is crazy. But I don't play it on 8 because 8's
Oh, yeah.
unbeatable. You can't win. You can't win at 8. So like it's like I could go, oh, I want to play it on 8. This is great, but I lose. They're having like nukes, and I've got like bow and arrow and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it's
They- they've
that's
got
it.
75 cities and you've got 3.
Yeah,
You're like, well,
yeah. So
that's
you
no
can say, oh,
fun.
I want the AI to be good. No, I don't want the AI to be good. I want the AI to suck and let me dominate.
Oh my God, it's so true. Sean Rawlings, thank you for being a Scoop Ultra member. Thank you for the 10, my friend. Thank you to all the service members of the chat. Love and respect. Again, all of our armed forces. Appreciate you guys so much. Thank you guys for patronizing our Pay It Forward program. Again, we signed up a bunch of members today. Saturday is always a nice day to get caught up on all that. And so if you're on BuckeyeScoop.com and if you have someone that's a service member, someone abroad, someone who's a retired service member, we just require a military ID. BuckeyeScoop.com. BuckeyeScoop at Gmail is our account. So send it in, and we'll get them set up. So again, we appreciate you guys that serve the country and take care of us. And again, we never forget you guys, and we always try to pay homage to you guys because you guys do. You guys allow us to do what we do. Period. And Nevada, anything on the military? Because again, we are very, very pro military and pro police here on Buckeye Scoop.
Yeah, no, it's an honor to do stuff like this with them. So we appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely huge. Kevin Newby, thanks for the deuce. Appreciate you. If you have a question, I think you might have one away. I will do that. Rob Morris, thank you for the 5. Thank you for being on here all the time as well. What's Nevada's pick against the spread, straight up for the Super Bowl, and the exact total points he thinks will be scored? I saw Billy Walters is on KC. Nevada, you and Billy are homies, and you guys have had some amazing stories. Are you with Billy on Kansas City?
I'm not sure if that's a pump fake or not with him. I'm not, I think that's probably the chalk. I'm betting the over. So I don't have a side bet on it. If I had to pick a side, I think I'm picking the 49ers, but I'm telling you why I'm picking the 49ers. It's just because I can't stand the Taylor Swift stuff, and I can't stand every time that they score and they show those idiots up there doing their little dances. And I know that makes me a get off the lawn guy, old guy, or something like that. But I think it's ruining the NFL enjoyment for me. So I'm rooting for the 49ers to win. But my big bet is bet the over, and bet the Travis Kelce not to propose to Taylor Swift after the game prop. Those are my 2 bets.
Yeah, see, because Billy's I mean, if you guys have never watched, if you guys are done on this, YouTube Billy Walters 60-minute interview. It is unbelievable how fascinating he is. And I know that's a guy that Nevada is very tight with, and he's a guy that we've used for a lot of gambling stuff on BuckeyeScoop.com. If you guys like to gamble, we've got really good gambling threads too. Kevin Newby, thanks for the deuce. New to the community. Why is Nevada's ID a secret? Well, it's just it's a pseudonym. I mean, he's a guy that's been around for a long time, and he's an insider. So he's like classic insider. Nevada, why are you so secretive?
Well, this isn't even my real voice. This is like a voice box. And what we did is we tried to get like the thing that had like the coolest, sexiest voice or something like that. And that's what it is. My real voice isn't nearly this awesome, but that it's my identity's got to remain a secret for everybody's protection. Kirk, Kirk's never even met me. Kirk doesn't even know who I am. So it's best. He sends my check to like an unnamed post office box, and But I appreciate it. It's good for you. And you got kids, you got a wife. You don't need to get tied up in my business, man.
No, I know. It's like we talk like we like talk like on payphones, like in The Sopranos. You know, hey, I'll be at this payphone outside in the rain. You be at the payphone. That's how we normally communicate. So, man, that's a good question though. Philip Bianchi, MD, thanks for being a Scoop Ultra member, and thanks for being on here every night, brother. I appreciate you. You're killing it in the chat earlier. I'm starting to put these up a little bit earlier because a lot of you guys get in here and it's like tailgating before the Browns game or the Buckeyes game because there's like hundreds of people chatting before we even start. So that's kind of cool. I actually love it. Thanks for the 20. Prayers to your little guy. Sending you my cell by email. Any medical questions, happy to answer, brother. Thank you so much, man. Again, it's a blessing that it was a clean break. The surgery only took about 30 minutes. My old lady did not get any sleep, and neither did he. But I slept great because I stayed at home. But and if you hear him squawking back there, he's a little fired up because he has a giant cast on, and then he has like this giant plaster. It looks like a diaper looking thing, and then the other leg is free. So it's like a giant. I'm trying to describe it. It looks like it'd be really uncomfortable. But that's what he's in right now, and he's gonna be in it for at least the next 5 weeks. So giddy up. But we did order him a sweet wagon that we can drag him around in. So because he can't walk. So it'll be interesting. But hey. It's the cost of fame when you got a couple of crazy boys fighting with each other. Bullet Train, thanks for the 10. Fun fact, I coached heavyweights, para wrestling back in the day under Riggs when Slates wrestled. Did you really? Wow, so you were there when I was there. Wakefield would get after me about recruiting football players like yourself to the squad. I played basketball for a couple years. The hardest part for me, my senior year, was that I didn't have a school. I hadn't declared anywhere. Ohio State was slow playing me. They didn't offer me until December 8th, which is super late in recruiting. And so I didn't want to play basketball or wrestle because I thought I was going to take 5 official visits. I was going to visit Stanford, Northwestern, Vanderbilt, Pittsburgh, and maybe one of the Florida schools. But I didn't want to, again, like Fred Neal, who I'm sure you know, was the basketball coach. He begged me to come out for basketball. And I'm like, dude, I have to go take official visits. I have to make a choice because I had a bunch of schools that I wasn't really that hot on. Purdue, none of them, Iowa. There was Ohio State, which was like the golden goddess of a football program. And then there was like a bunch of ones that were just kind of like, eh. And so I was like, well, I gotta go check out the ehs and figure out where I want to go. And then when Tress offered me, I literally committed. Like, I'll never forget, I was in art class at the end of the day. And my high school coach said he was going to talk to Jim Bowman and Jim Tressel, and he's going to say, are you going to offer him or not? And basically, give him the ultimatums, because otherwise I was going to go to Northwestern that weekend and go visit there, because I really liked Randy Walker, God rest his soul. And I remember my art teacher was hilarious, because she was always kind of loopy. I think she was on the bottle during school. And I grabbed the hall pass to go down to Wake's office, Keith Wakefield, and it was like, I walked down there, and I'd never been more anxiety, nervous, because either Ohio State's going to offer you or not. Either your life's going to change or it's not, or you're going to go somewhere that you're not really that keen on. Leave Ohio, leave your mom behind, whatever. So I get down that hallway and I see him with another high school or another college recruiter, and he says, "Hey, Ohio State's going to offer you a full ride." And I was like, I literally said, "Tell him I'm coming because I hate recruiting. I don't want to go on any visits. I don't want to go anywhere. Tell him I'm in. I'm done." And so I hate pomp. I don't need a hat ceremony. I just want to go. I'm good. Because I hated recruiting, like impossibly bad. He's like, well, you need to go talk to your mom. I was like, no, I don't. She's not playing. I'm playing. So just tell him. So I did, and it was great. But it's just like one of those funny moments in your life where like everything kind of just changes. But I also, that's why I didn't play any other sports. Because like when I was playing my last year, I mean, I didn't want to put myself above the team and say, oh, I can't play this weekend because I'm going to be at Stanford, or I'm going to be at Northwestern, or I'm going to be at Purdue, or whatever. So that kind of sunk me, but I never really wrestled. I want my kids to wrestle, because I think wrestling is a fantastic sport. I think Tom Ryan at Ohio State is awesome. John Lorman, who is my donor, took me to a game. We sat front row, or it was a match, and it was incredible. I think it was against Cornell. It was Cornell like a month ago, and it was awesome. And I was like, this is amazing. The Covelli Center is beautiful, named after Sam Covelli. So big ups to wrestling, man. Again, I think wrestling is the best thing you can do for a young kid, just to get their use with leverage and body positioning and toughness. And I think that the mental benefits, the mental toughness you gain from wrestling carries out through life. So I love the sport of wrestling. So thank you for helping out with Slice. Zach's a great dude. Deborah Sobel, thanks for being Scoop Ultra. Thank you for the 5. Thank you for always being on here. Appreciate you so much. If you look up the word debacle in the dictionary, there's a picture of the Cheaters Up North fan. Nevada, do you agree with that?
I do agree with that, and I'm gonna have to tell you, my phone is about to die right now. I didn't think that would be going this long. I'm literally at 2%, so I don't want to just cut off and have you guys go, what happened to Nevada? Where did Nevada go? It's just because my phone is literally melting from this eCan software right now. But yeah, no, definitely. I'll talk until it absolutely flames out on us.
All right.
But
well,
yeah,
turn your turn your brightness down.
My brightness is down.
Okay, it's just the screen's completely black. All right, chocolate chip cookie. Thanks for the deuce, my man. We do need to start subbing our wide receivers and D line. Could not agree more, man. I've never seen anything crazier than Jack and JT playing the entire Notre Dame game. That can't happen again. So I totally agree with you on that. VP of Hype, thank you for the 5. Sorry if this was already posted, but why is Portnoy the worst type of scum fan? They're just so loud and annoying when they win. I mean, they're just so obnoxious. And again, that's his shtick. I get it. Like, I mean, a lot of these guys that they do this stuff, they're like a cartoon character. Or they're like a wrestler that plays a character. And so that's worked for him, being loud and dumb. It kind of is what it is. And he's made a fortune doing it. So I don't think he's going to change it. And Taylor Lewan's like that. Rich Eisen's like that. It's the whole 9. Let's go. No regrets. Thank you for being a Scoop Ultra member. I know CK is a serious coach that wants to win and get everything out of his players, but does he take the hard behind approach or player relationship approach? I think he's kind of a hard A. I really do. I think he's the guy that really gets after these guys. Because the guys that love him are Urban and Belichick, and there aren't harder coaches in the world than those two. And Saban. Those guys are old school, tough, get after it, no excuses. And I think that's something that's really really important. Like I think you gotta pressure burst pipes. I think you gotta put them in that blast furnace, man, and see what you got. Like I'm all for tough coaching. I think that you find out more about kids when they're coached tough. Because again, like I tell people, like life is hard. Like there's all kinds of things that happen. My little 2-year-old broke his leg yesterday, fractured fibula or fibia or whatever. I mean, it was crazy. So gotta figure out how to take care of him now. We both work all day, and we got our little dude that can't go to daycare now. So life's hard. You don't know what curveball's coming, and so I think that like when you're raised tough and you're raised to handle adversity and give effort, it's good. And so I think Chip Kelly is really dynamic, and I think he's going to do a great job with it. Tim 67 Buckeye, thank you for the 5, and thank you for being a Scoop Ultra member as well. Best show out there. I wanted Michigan to be good. Iron sharpens iron. With expansion, screw them. Conference is strong. I agree. I mean, I don't want Michigan to be good and beat us, but I like when they're good and we beat them. So again, it's like if you could go play basketball one-on-one versus, your 6-year-old kid, or you go play against Michael Jordan and beat him. Like, I just think that you feel better when you beat someone, when you accomplish a real task. A lot of you guys are athletes, or you do CrossFit or whatever you do. Anything that's like measurable where they keep score and you can see improvement and you get that self-satisfaction. You guys are runners, marathoners, 5Ks. Like when you can do something tough and complete it, you feel really good about it. And like when Michigan was good, under Lloyd Carr and we beat them, it was a real sense of accomplishment. So, well, I'm going to wrap this thing up. Again, this was a great show. Appreciate you guys as always kicking it with us on your Saturday night. Again, went for 2 hours because we love you guys and you guys are awesome. And this is a great show again because you guys made it one. So thank you guys for kicking it with Torah, with the whole crew. Again, this is great. Obviously, Nevada's phone exploded at the finish line, but hey, it's all good. We're gonna have a good day tomorrow. So shout out where you guys are watching from. Shout out who you guys are watching with. And also, if you enjoyed this episode, hit that like button on the way out the door. Those are huge for us. Again, they promote our videos based on likes, subscriptions, And if you guys love these live shows, click the little alert bell and you'll get an alert. That'd be fantastic. And again, we just appreciate you guys so much for kicking with us on your Saturday. We go every night. We take no days off. We might take one off every month or so, but we're really trying to grind because you guys are a great community and we love doing the show and it's a blast. So thank you guys for being a part of it. Put your Super Bowl picks in the comments. I'd love to hear who you guys got and why you got it. Maybe throw a score in there. That'd be great. And shout out to my Southern Ohio boys. You guys always watch to the end. So my Gallipolis boys, my Portsmouth boys, Chesapeake, South Point, all the people down on the river. You guys are the best. And we're trying to bring the heat for you. We will be down at the Souda River in the near future. So I hope you guys look forward to that. So we got one last super chat coming in right at the buzzer. Artie Saunders, thanks for the deuce. Do you think CK here, Chip Kelly lets Artie work more with the QBs? I think it'll be a collaboration. I really do. I think that Chip is going to do what he does, but Ryan is always going to have his hand on the quarterback room because he's been so good at it. He's been so prolific, and he wants to make sure it's done right. Now, I think that Ryan can relax more that he's got Chip in there than maybe Mike Yurcich or Corey Dennis, is because he knows what Chip does, and Chip taught him everything about quarterback play that he knows. So I think that it'll be a good working relationship, and I'm super excited to see how it goes. So, well, with that being said, I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you so much, Buckeye Nation. Thank you, Scoop family. I'm going to talk to you guys tomorrow. I hope you guys have a great night and you guys have a great Super Bowl Sunday. We'll probably go mid-afternoon, so look for the little alert. So make sure you click that alert bell so you do not miss us. We will not go during the Super Bowl because you guys got to kick with your family, eat some wings from Buffalo Wild Wings, who are one of our title sponsors now. So we appreciate you. Have a great day tomorrow. Go Bucks.